Right, hello everybody, and welcome back to another Fury of Dracula video. After the amazing success, which was the Hunter event tier list that Rossco and I did, probably a few months ago now at this point, we have decided to do some more of these, and we're going to look at the Dracula events now. Especially I need Roscoe's help for this, because probably half of these cards I've never seen before, because they're never given to me when I play Dracula, so here's what it is. So yeah, Roscoe's on a call with me now, so hello Roscoe.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you. So yeah, we're just going to go through, as you can see, I've got the game library up. I haven't, because we just decided to do this very spontaneously, so I haven't got any PowerPoint presentation. There's no real tier list of this, it's not going to be like a formal thing, we're just going to have a discussion about all of the Dracula events and just basically our thoughts on them. As I said, yeah, Roscoe's probably seen all of these before. There's quite a lot of times where I get given a card and I'm like, oh, what does this do again? And I have to check them out. So yeah, so we'll more or less say, like, is this S tier, is this crap? But it's not as formal as the Hunter event one, where, and also, like, we're not doing, if we even did do it as a tier list, it's not like the Hunter event one where we're like, let's restrict ourselves and put, what was it, like 6 or 5 in each, or 6 in each tier.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. It would just be whatever, right? So,
and there aren't as many. There's only 25 cards in total for Drac, and as you say, there's far fewer unique cards for Drac than there is Hunters anyway. So
yeah, so it's and then what we can do at some point, we can do a similar thing with the items and the encounters for Dracula as well. We can just chat about them and we can just have a little bit of back and forth going on. So yeah, as long as it's not as long as it's not as long as the Hunter tier list video, then I think we're fine. I think people were quite shocked. They were like, how the fuck is this 3 hours long? To be fair, I didn't even know how the fuck we did that.
Oh, were we? Yeah, I know.
I mean, obviously you didn't hear it in the recording, but we finished recording. We just chatted for like 5 minutes afterwards. Like, how the fuck is that 3 hours? That's just ridiculous. Anyway, let's get started. So as Rossco is like the resident Dracula expert in the community, then you're gonna have to do a lot of the heavy lifting here. So the first card, so yeah, I've got the game library up there. Roscoe's gone old school and has actually got the physical board game out, which, to be honest, I would love to do. I don't have my physical edition with me. I'd love to get the cards out. Anyway, so first card, alphabetical order. This is just alphabetical. Custom search. So if a hunter moves from one region to another, and the hunter becomes delayed, and then they have to choose between discarding all items or they suffer 3 damage. Now, I think, if I remember rightly, I think I said in my fast horses or hunter movement video, I don't think this works on fast horses.
No.
Which seems
it's only if they move by road.
Which
on foot, if you like.
Or what was if they rail?
Well, yeah, so it doesn't. No, it doesn't. As far as I'm aware, it's only if they move from one region to another. I think because the other one. No, I beg your pardon, because I'm thinking wild horses is the one by road. Yeah, so this is basically however they move, bar fast horses. If they go one region to another, then they become delayed. Yeah, whether it be train or on foot.
But surely you would think that fast horses should also trigger this.
Yeah, and likewise chartered carriage. It should supersede regardless.
Yeah,
but it just seems to be play after a move action if a hunter moves from one region to another. So I don't know.
I only knew that because I think it was a league game where I got custom search. I can't remember exactly, but I remember thinking, oh, is this going to work against fast horses? And it didn't. I was like, oh, okay, good to know. Maybe I'm wrong with this. But anyway, so whatever. We'll actually talk about the actual card, not about how digital implements it. But I think that's wrong. If fast horses don't work, I think that's implemented incorrectly. But whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's it's one of the better ones to have. I mean, it's a kind of, if the hunters play it, and obviously as long as they don't play a special move and they just train it, whatever, it could be good to keep for if they're getting close to you. I like the fact that they become delayed, and then they also have to decide whether to discard all their items or suffer 3 damage. So. This could be if it's a late in game and you've got Seward, for example, who's on, say, 3 health. He then has to get rid of maybe 4 items, is delayed, and he's still on 3 health, or he kills himself. So it's a real, you're getting a 3 for 1 here. And again, if you're, if he was about to move into you and he had a 3-2 and he could get you with a rail, if he goes from France to Spain, you can then delay him. So yeah, it's a good card of that. I mean, the thing is, he might land on you, but he's either going to discard all his items or they're going to suffer 3 damage, which puts Drac in a stronger position as well. So certainly not near, not near an S. It's a nice. If I was, if a Drac player manages to get 3 cards, for example, and this is one of them, then I would use it. And again, it's also good to, if you've moved and you've wolf formed and you've misdirected, if a hunter goes into Spain, you can throw this down to make them think you're there. Whereas you could be in Italy or wherever. So it's good for a bit of confusion, misdirection as well. So yeah, certainly better. Like I say, the other one we spoke about, the coming up to the wild horse one, it's better than that, I would say. So
yeah, I think that maybe it looks a little bit better from just by me reading it. Like the delay. I mean, you're going to be delayed at night because you're going to be moving. Well, unless it was like a long night move, and then you would delay them during the day. That would be really good. But if they're only losing a night action, like who cares? I mean, yeah, they could use it to heal. If they would take the damage, they could heal it back. But the fact they can't do that immediately means, oh right, I'm going to have to heal later, and that could be a problem. I was wondering why it's 3 damage, because pretty much everything in the game is like equal amount. It's always like even amounts, 2 or 4 damage. But maybe it's to counteract the idea because 3 of the hunters have odd number of health. So maybe it's to counteract that a little bit. If Van Helsing got this, it's like, nah, doesn't matter. 6. If it's like Van Helsing had 8 health, the maximum. If it went down to 6 or 5, well, that makes no fucking difference. But if it's one of the other 3 and it takes off that extra 1 health, that's pretty vital coming to a fight. That could be the difference between getting clawed to death or getting out. So it's quite it's very interesting. I think because
it's got the option that you either discard your cards, so they don't have to take 3. It's like kind of scanning mob in a way. You either discard it or you take damage. So most hunters, the maximum of 3 bar Seward on scanning mob, if they kept their items, they'd take 3 damage anyway. So it's a kind of reflective one for Drac to get on this side, that you either get rid of your cards or. Again for Seward, he could take 3 damage and keep all his cards, which then means that he's kind of taking the same as a mob. But if the card after that is then they've decided to take 3 damage and keep their items, and the next card after is a mob, then all of a sudden there's 3 damage or 4. So it's a nice one to throw down. If you get it, don't discard it. There's others that you can just go fuck this, but this is one. I think when you read it, you have to read it and have a look at it. And again, there's more chance of hunters moving from region to region.
Yeah.
Some of the others are before they move, throw this down. But again, you're like, well, if they don't, we'll come on to this. But yeah, there's others. So yeah, I like the fact 3 and 1. So if you get it, keep a hold of it. Don't use it immediately, unless you want to misdirect or they're about to jump on you. Near you.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be one of those 2 situations. We just wouldn't use it randomly. Yeah, I think if again, a lot of the problem is if this was implemented. If the way I'm looking, it says because it says move action. Because fast horse is technically a special. Maybe that's why. Maybe why. Because it's not. I feel like a card like this, just make it a move, not a move action. But again, it's
a bit ambiguous. That's the problem. Yes, yeah.
That's not the fault of the digital edition. That's just the game in general. The terminology is sometimes very ambiguous. But maybe that's why fast horses, because it's a move action. If you could stop fast horses, this would be so much better. Especially the way we play, where fast horses are used more.
The thing is, there's only one of these in the whole deck. So again, the chance of Drac getting it is highly unlikely. So if you did get that and it did stop fast horses, Christ, that could be the difference between a win and lose, So
yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, like, as you said, there's only one of them, so you can only stop one fast horse move, and it has to be between a region. It has to be between regions, whereas a lot of times you might be in the same region, so then it just I think it'd be nicer if it could just stop things like fast horses. I don't understand why it doesn't, but whatever. So I don't know. So from the way you're talking, sort of mid.
I'll probably be mid-table. Mid-tier. Yeah, mid-tier.
Okay. I mean, I've not had any experience with using this card just because it hasn't come up in the right situation. But yeah, that seems fairly reasonable. I think when you make hunters make awkward choices, also it all depends on when you hit them. Again, if they're full health, don't care. But if it's towards the end of the game and there's an upcoming fight and you force. I think that's one thing. Like Dracula should always be trying to force hunters into really difficult decisions, and that's when we do about the encounters and things, we can talk about this. But if you can pick the right moment and a hunter needs to make a really critical decision, then that's where mistakes crop in, and then Dracula can punish from it. So yeah, I think it's nice.
And I think as well,
as long as you don't waste
it's
it.
worth. Yeah, exactly. I think what's worth saying is, despite this is a titular character, he's limited on the cards that he does get. So again, it's not like Hunters where he's searching for it. You're only going to get a decision if your Hoax matures or Hunters start supplying at night because they get desperate in the game. I was thinking about this earlier, actually, just a quick note. Whenever I've played this in the board game with people around the table, there's more of a kind of excitement, anxiety, kind of like, do you know what? I'm just going to supply at night. And it's almost like, oh, what's he going to get? Oh, you got a Dracula, and all of a sudden it's like, whereas the digital's very, nope, no, we're not doing that. You don't supply at night. And I get, it's all about winning, but I think there's more of a camaraderie where as Drac, you get more cards playing the board game than this, because the meta is you supply, you burn through the deck, find Drac, use all your cards and jump on it. And, if Drac's just not getting a chance to get them, then, again, you're kind of, it doesn't really matter. It's all academic, So most of these ones are probably, again, I thought this would be quite useful, because most players, certainly with digital version that are new or haven't played the board game, probably, as you said, aren't going to see many of these, because if they're playing against seasoned Hunters, they're never going to get the opportunity. And it's a shame, because some of these cards are fucking amazing.
Yeah. It'd be really nice if there could be a way for Dracula to obtain some sort of Dracula card from another way. So I know the idea that maybe Quincy had was if you could alter Dark Call, where maybe you could get the choice, do you want to get more encounter cards, or do you want to get a Dracula card if it's the top card in the deck? But then again, it could be something really good, or it could be something really shit. But then you kind of you're playing that lottery a little bit then.
Well, the thing is with that as well, you get to, you can use Dark Call, effectively, every
week,
once a week.
Yeah.
So you could, by the fourth week, you could have 4 event cards, and out of them, you'd think you're going to have 2 pretty decent ones. If you draw a manual, then all of a sudden, it's a whole different thing. So,
but that changes the game. But then ultimately, the Hunters are also playing a little bit of game of uncertainty, because they don't know what order the Hunter cards are going to be in the deck. So why can't Dracula have the same sort of aspect to it? So I think it's interesting. So cool. Okay, right. So we'll put it in B tier for now. We can kind of figure out later. Next one, Darkness Returns. So basically, it's the dawn and day is just completely skipped. So there's no day phase, which is then really powerful. Hunters don't move. There's no dawn combat, so there's a way then you can then accelerate it to dusk combat, which makes it worse for the Hunters depending on the situation of the game. Then the Hunters can't move, which is really, really good, and they can't supply during the day, which is amazing. And then also it reshuffles the entire event deck. All the Dracula events get, so it's basically the Hoax mature, where it and I didn't realize this the first time I got Darkness Returns. I played it immediately, and I hadn't realized that it does the same thing as Hoax, where all the Dracula discarded cards go back in. So then you're fucking up the Hunters even more, because then I know the way we play, this normally gets played towards the end of the game, because you want to try and maximize your Fury of Dracula points, and this is a way to do it, because you can just get the Hunters. No, you're staying still for the entire day, and then I get a free move now. But if you play this sort of in the middle, where Hunters have been supplying a lot, and then getting the deck kind of where they want it, then suddenly all these Dracula cards get swapped back in, and then everything's all fucked up again, and that can cause lots of issues, and you're having to burn through lots more Dracula cards again until the Hunters can get to what they want. So I think it's a really good card.
It is, and again, the thing is that it's useful if you've got it where, if you're the Hunters are getting close, and say that potentially you've had a 2-on-1 and you've come through it in the morning, you play Darkness Returns after your turn, you could then wolf form, Darkness Returns, move, and all of a sudden you could be 3 away, from them as well. So it's a great escape card as well to get out of a danger situation, because like we spoke about in the Hunter cards, they're all well and good, but if you die, you can't use them. So it's all about planning when to use it, when to sacrifice it. If you want to decide to get 3 oceans away from them, you can Darkness Returns it, get away 2 oceans, wolf form, and if they've been stuck in Baltica, you can be in Marseille before they can move. So it's it's an S tier for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. I was going to say, a little cheeky plug. It's a game that you and I both played. It was the game, I can't remember exactly the type, it's like Epic Game plus Tournament Preview. It's a game before the League of Dracula tournament, where
Right.
you and I were talking about it, and I just played Dracula, and I got this card. And again, as I remember in the game, I mean, obviously we didn't talk too much, because I didn't want to reveal to you I had this card, but in my head the whole time I was like, do I play this now, or do I hold on to it to try and maximize the effect later, because I could get 3 extra points, and then that could be the difference between a win or a loss. So yeah, it's just anytime you can just stop the hunters from doing anything, plus if you play at the right time, you could play this to make sure that something matures, or you get those 3 extra points from Fear of Dracula in the 4th week or whatever. Just like, and then the fact you're fucking with the hunters even more by shuffling the whole event deck, that could be the difference between win or loss for the hunters. Yeah,
that is huge. And again, for example, if Van Helsing's got a Mystic Research and he's holding off on it,
yeah,
then all of a sudden, or rather say he's played it, and you've got this, you play it the next one, then all of a sudden his, the 6 at the bottom or whatever it might be is all just I had a game the other night about that. Won't say who to spoil it, but that was a situation. I was Drac, and I got this, when I played it, and they had played Mystic Research, so they went ahead and supplied and came back and commented and said, "Oh, I think I miscounted." I went, "No." I said the deck got reshuffled because of darkness. And they were like, "Oh, I didn't even realise that." And again, it just shows you, people aren't, they're not getting enough visibility of these cards to know what it did. But it meant from that I got, I think it was hidden. No, it was Dracula's Bride. So I just then popped up another 2, and it was covered it that way. So yeah, it's got a lot. I mean, most of the Drax cards do mirror the event cards for the hunters to a certain extent.
Yes.
Mystic Research, Emmanuel, and all these others as well. So, but yeah, Darkness Returns, with what you can do with it, and again, like we always say in these videos, it's about when you use it. The card is just the card. You have to then decide when to use it, and if it's done properly, as you say, it can win a game, it can delay a hunter, or get you out of a situation, or even kill a hunter. Because, like you say, if you're 1-on-1 with somebody and you play it and you stay, then all of a sudden you fight them a night and it's a death, and in your last week, that's points again that you could win. So,
because a lot of things, what hunters do is hunters will, if it's like a 1v1, hunters might aggressively move on to Dracula to have a fight or play Heroic Leap or whatever, and then they might go, oh well, that's okay, I've got just enough health that I can survive a day fight, and then I leave the location and go to a safe location, and then Dracula's stuck there, whatever. But then if you play this, Dawn skipped and Day skipped, so then the hunter is stuck there. They couldn't heal on their day action, and then they got to do a night fight. And then, assuming, depending on items, all that stuff, then Dracula could have their way with them. It all depends, and it's just.
And the good thing is, again, if it's Van Helsing you're fighting, then of course he doesn't have the option to trade. So
yeah, you can't trade escape route around or whatever it is.
All of a sudden, he's just stuck with what he's got, So S tier for me.
Yeah, so I think it's one of the most powerful ones for sure. Okay, Devilish Power is kind of like the opposite of Good Luck. That's kind of the easiest way to think about it, but my gut feeling is just naturally stronger than Devilish Power is stronger than Good Luck, just because of what it does. You can remove the Consecrated Ground tokens. In case you don't know, when you play Consecrated Ground, you put the permanent token plus any Heavenly Host tokens that you want. The Consecrated Ground token is permanent. It stays there forever. But if you do Devilish Power, it disappears. The ally is discarded, so obviously there's unlikely to be a Jonathan Harker, but there's an Aggie or a Rufus Smith, you might use to get rid of that. And you can also do that hunters cannot supply during the next hunter phase. That's probably the weakest effect. Like, if you don't stop the hunters from moving, the hunters will be like, alright, cool, I'll move then. I guess the only time would be is like if they're gonna supply with the possibility that they're gonna fight you. If the hunters are really not tooled up, but they want to jump on you this turn, you could just do Devilish Power, so then they're like, oh shit, we move on to Dracula, we can't supply, or we can't, if you play like a Renewed Vigor, you want to supply and move, or the other way around, you can't do it then. You're maybe moving into Dracula with fuck all, but that's probably the weakest effect out of the 3.
Yeah, it's funny, this one. On the surface, you think, it's like, oh right, happy days, it can remove Consecrated Ground. However, it only removes the Consecrated Ground token, like you said. So, depending how it's played, and I've had this played against me, which I was like, oh, you motherfucker. you know, if so, for example, I'll say the scenario I was in Ireland. Concentrated Ground was played. However, Concentrated Ground Token was played in a random city outside Dublin or Galway, and Heavenly Hosts were played on Dublin and Galway. So all of a sudden, this card is null and void because I clicked on it, assuming, oh, Consecrated Ground, only to find that the CG disappeared from wherever the fuck it was, and I'm still stuck, and the same effect kicked in. So, note to people who get this again, and I've probably just made it an easy trick and schooling for the hunters now to use that. If you're using CG, don't necessarily place it where you would normally think about it, and if you know they've been given a card, think, is it Devilish Power? Do I need to use all the tokens? Do I need to put CG down, or do I want to block his route? Again, the discard Hunter sounds great, but there's 2 surprising return cards for the Hunters.
That's true.
And the issue is, you know, you burn this and Rufus goes and they just go pop.
Yeah.
Next minute, you know, you've gone to see Rufus is back and you're now taking the same damage and you've burnt it. So, and again, Hunters cannot supply, like you say, well, okay, they'll just move or heal or train, you know, it doesn't really...
Good hunters will be tooled up. So there's not supplying is like kind of like supplying normally happens to get the events, normally not items, unless they've had to burn lots of items with encounters. But then like if you already know that, then like they're not going to jump onto you with nothing, right? So it's like I think also like there's 2 of these things. You've got 2 surprising returns, you've got 2 devilish powers, yeah, but you're not going to get both devilish powers in the same game unless somehow like there's lots of night supplies going around. It's one of these like I mean, if you get it, you're gonna be really happy because you can then just if they play CG, yank, no, getting rid of it.
I mean, if you get it, you're happy because you're Drac and you've got a vampire card. You know, you're just like, holy shit, I've got one. Right, what do I want to do with this? Again, the problem is because there's 2 of them, that's fine. But because there's 2 surprising returns, Devilish Power gets rid of Rufus. Rufus comes back. Get rid of Devilish Power because Drac uses it first. Then if they've got another surprising return, they use it, and that's it. You've just wasted, you know, both of them. Again, if they've got surprising return. So yeah, it's one of those that you kind of... I remember when I first got this, you know, with the board games, it was great because Consecrated Ground is just right. Well, usually that might be the way out of a trap situation, so you can do it. Yeah. And once they've played it, you know, if they play it or they think they've got you trapped and it's week 2 and you play it and you remove it, you don't have to worry about CG for the rest of the game, and it just opens up a whole new strategy for Dracula. You don't have to, you know, you can go to the UK, you can go to the boot. You don't have to worry about wolf forming from sea because, you know, that's all gone and there's no way they're going to get it back in the game. So I'd probably have this at an A because of the ally side and because again, if they don't pick up, and a lot of hunters might look at surprising return and just burn it because they think, do you know what?
That's the thing I was thinking, like, because obviously when we did our tier list, we put it pretty low. Surprising return can be very impactful, but the issue is then it's a case of it is an awkward card because you need to have multiple allies in the first place, or if you get one ally, you do the surge effect and then you don't. So it's kind of like a thing where you need to have all that working for you, and sometimes you don't get any fucking. You could be sitting there with 2 surprise returns, you get no fucking allies, and you're like, well, I'm gonna have to burn this card eventually. The advantage also with the digital version, again, board game version, you're going to have this effect, but in the digital version, when hunters are going to play certain cards at dawn or dusk, so Renewed Vigor, Speedy Telegraph, Newspaper, Surprise Return, or Long Night, you'll see like a prompt on the screen, and it'll say, waiting for the hunter player, and you can then know, they have something that goes at dawn or dusk, and you'll know that it'll be Surprise and Return because it'll trigger at dusk, and it's the only 2 that trigger at dusk is Newspaper and Surprise and Return. So if you keep seeing this thing constantly popping up at dusk, and you know that there are 2 allies being played, one maybe is an ally and one is in the discard, then you think, there's a Surprise and Return most likely here. So then you can work around it and go, right, I'm not going to play Devilish Power now. But if it's really late on in the game and Rufus is in play, but you know you need to move 4 speed spaces and it's pretty unlikely they're going to have a surprising return, then fucking play it then. And you can then go halfway around the map, but they can't do anything about it. And even if they do get surprise return, it might be too fucking late by then. You might have made all the moves you need. So you know, they can't supply and move to catch you. They have to do one or the other. So you're then again you're forcing hunters into this awkward situation. If you know for a fact they don't have surprise return, that you can just cancel the ally and off you go. As a fact, you can also
Yeah.
play it. The great thing is you can play it during the Dracula phase. So like if you've been boxed in with CG, you can go, nah, fuck it. Before I even move, I'm getting rid of consecrated ground. Oh, now I can wolf form out of this consecrated ground situation. Cool, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Or you get rid of Rufus and then you move or whatever. So that you don't have to play. A lot of these are at the end of the Dracula phase, like Darkness Returns, for example, which makes sense given
Yeah.
the nature of the card. The Devil's Power, you can play it whatever the fuck you want, and that's just great. So I'd be the same.
Yes.
A seems pretty fair to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, Dracula's Brides. So 2 effects, because it's like an ally effect. So you got the Corrupt, where you choose 2 hideouts from 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, and you put an encounter card on each. So you basically gain 2 extra encounters on your trail. Or the Ally is at the start of each phase. You get to basically cycle your encounter cards. Where you get rid of one, and you draw another one. You don't actually place any new ones. You're just cycling through your encounter deck quicker. So interesting. I'll talk about the Corrupt one, just because it came up in a game actually I played recently, which got up on the channel, where I got a Hopes Mature, and I was basically just like a kid in a sweet shop. I had lots of cards, but not like I didn't have like a Darkness Returns. I had all like the middling ones. I'm like, oh, what the fuck do I pick here? And I ended up going for Dracula's Brides. Because like, I can force the hunters into really awkward situations here, where I put down lots of encounters, I have to deal with them. But what happened was, and it was something that, spoiler alert, it was a big oversight, because I'd already revealed that the next encounter that was going to mature was just a new vampire with no rumor token. The hunters pretty much decided, all right, fuck you and all your encounters. I'm just going to let this thing mature, and I don't have to deal with any of them. And I was like, oh shit. And I kind of like, oh fuck, I wasted that card now. So it's one of those where, if you're having to force the hunters into difficult decisions, then it's a really good one to do, because you're causing lots of problems for them. But if the hunters have a really easy get out clause, like, oh well, we'll just let a 3 influence point vampire mature, and then don't have to deal with any of this shit, then it's not so great. It also depends on what you got in your hand at the time, right? I think when I did it, I ended up dumping a lot of vampires because I wanted to be aggressive and cause the hunters to keep jumping onto things and getting killed by lots of vampires. But in the end, they didn't do any of that. So I lost all of those really good encounter cards then. So it's like, with great power comes great responsibility, right? You need to play it properly. But there was another game I played a while ago, which it didn't save the game because I ended up losing in the end, but it bought me so much time because, again, I played it at the right moment, and it really confused the hunters, and they made them really scared to start moving on to my space and whatever, because there was lots of encounters in the way. So
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, I think it's good when, especially if you throw down a rumor token on them as well. So even if you haven't got stuff there, I think there's a game I played. I think you watched it, and I can't remember, but I'd placed it, and I had nothing on it. But I think I had a wolf and a rat or something, because it was just to get rid of my hand. But I stuck a rumor on it, and all of a sudden, the hunters are drawn towards it, and they don't have stakes, and they're thinking, how are we going to deal with it? And they kind of, they left it to try and mature, but obviously that was irrelevant. It meant that it delayed them enough to let Drac get away. I like the fact with this that it's up to 2 hideouts from the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, so you can place it where you are, which is good. It's a case of, if you look at it and think, right, well, hang on, I'm here, and 2 of them are fast horsed, and they could get me next turn, then you can stick a 2nd down it, be it a fog, bats, whatever, or double vamp, whatever it might be. I would certainly, whenever I draw this, I always go corrupt. Obviously, as long as it's applicable. If you're at sea, you can't use it, but you can always hold on to it until you come back on there. The ally, again, because Drac doesn't really have a lot of item cards, I find it more of a hindrance than anything else. At the beginning of each round, you're like, oh fuck, I've got 2 reckless, a hoax, a bat, and a fog, and you can't skip it. You've got to change one. That's the only problem. That you can't go, oh, no, not this round. So you draw it and you pick up something pish. Then it's you could end up, when you get into a fight, or all that's happening is, for the next 3 trails, you're just putting down shit to get back to the good stuff. So yeah, I would never use it as ally. Unless you've got a shit hand, of course, because then you're hoping that if you play it the next 5, you're going to get a decent hand. But
and you are cycling through your encounter cards quicker. I just want to correct. I don't know. Maybe this might be I'm interested. This could be a board game versus digital edition difference. On my digital edition card, it says for the ally effect, you may discard a card. It's not, you're not forced to do it.
Yeah, but but I think in the game you have to choose one. You can't skip when it kicks in the game.
Ah, well
As far
then,
as I'm aware.
if that's the case,
So that might be they've just taken it straight from here.
So if that's the case, then that's maybe digital edition not doing it correctly, because it clearly says on the card, like at least on the digital edition, I don't know what it says on your card, it says at the start of each Dracula phase, you may discard a card from your hand and draw another. So that means you don't have to. If you got 5 really good encounter cards, you're like, nah, I don't discard any of these. You keep going.
It says that. No, it says that on mine as well. However, I'm sure in the digital, when you get it, it just you've got to choose. I don't think it gives you the option. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I might have to go and look at that. But it was a case of whenever I played ally, it was like it just comes up and it's like
maybe there is
another card pops up. Maybe there's a little cross on to discard it. I've not seen
which we haven't clicked on. Yeah, maybe, or maybe it's been implemented incorrectly. It's possible.
Yeah.
I
think. I mean, it wouldn't change my. I mean,
no,
if you don't, because you don't know what you're going to draw. So it's a case of nah.
So yeah. And it's also the fact that, just like the other reason why Ally's bad is because all it takes is the hunters to have one copy of Good Luck and it's gone.
Yeah.
And also Good Luck is not played as an action. It's just played as an additional thing. If I let me check. I'm sure Good Luck.
So you're right. It doesn't delay. Yeah, they play that and then they do their move.
Yeah, because it says play during day, not play as an action. So they could just go, oh well, you got Dracula's Brides, and then you're waiting, right, to get that first card, and then the hunter's on their turn, go, all right, fuck it, bye, off you go. So just
exactly.
Unless for some ridiculous reason you know that they don't have. I know when we talked about it, we didn't value Good Luck very highly, but it's just too easy that the hunters have one copy of it, while they're going to use it to cycle out other event cards. They go, oh well, fuck it, I'll burn Good Luck on getting rid of Dracula's Brides then, and that's it, done. I've been noticing that the way we've been playing, assuming Dracula survives long enough, obviously, and doesn't do too many C moves, they can burn through their entire counter deck in a whole game. If you have Desecrated Soil, then even faster. So obviously it depends on how many vampires mature, because then that will then affect like the encounter economy and stuff. But if you're playing with layers all the time and you're actually thinking actively about, right, I need to always be cycling, so I've got to have one crap encounter every time to cycle in, you're going to burn through it. It's like, do you need the ally effect? I mean, if it couldn't be stopped by Good Luck so easily, then yeah, maybe play the ally. But no, I think the corrupt, as long as the corrupt is actually going to be decent, because like, not like my stupid scenario where it just wiped everything. Everything got wiped. Yeah, I'd go corrupt.
I mean, the funny thing is, we'll come on this, but all of the 3 potential allies for Dracula can be pretty much written off the next round.
Yes.
Or they become redundant. The hunters just, it's just, again, we'll come on to it. So, unlike the hunter's allies, which again, Drac can only get rid of if he draws Devilish Power, they're going to be there, or unless the hunters change them over. Whereas again, the 3 allies that he gets, again, they can be pretty much academic, because the following day the hunters could just go up, and again we'll come on to the other ones that have that effect. So yeah, Dracula's Bride, again, it's good, especially if they've got to clear hideouts. You double them up, which is great.
Yeah.
If they're on high traffic areas, then brilliant. They've got to deal with them, and most hunters will try and clear trails rather than ignore them and chase Drac. And you can always mature what's there as well. It might just be enough to put them off. So if you've got you don't put a rumour token down and you've got a aristocratic and something else on it, then they might just think, do you know what, it's probably going to be fog and something else, we'll leave it, and then there's 4 points for you. So
so I think that's probably an important thing for new players to realise. If you read this card and think, oh cool, I'll double up with 2 vampires on the same encounter or same city and put a rumour token, when you mature one of the vampires, it wipes everything out. So you can't mature 2 vampires from the same location. But you could do it where you put a non-vampire thing and a vampire, and you mature, because you can decide, at least in the digital version, you can decide what thing matures first. So you could mature a spy or hoax or whatever, and then the vampire second, and then everything else thereafter is wiped. So you could get 2 things to mature on the same turn, and depending on what they are, that could be pretty good. So yeah.
And I think if you're playing perhaps a more advanced level as Dracula, and you're conscious about which locations you're turning into layers. You can make this a very good web to have this, because you could have layers sitting around a trail if you've backtracked or whatever you're going to be doing. And if you draw this, you can then place that down, so you can have 3 on the trail plus perhaps 2 layers adjacent to the trail. And all of a sudden, if you've gone back to them, or you've just got a nice, you can have a bat on a trail, throw them into this, and all that. So you could kill a hunter potentially if it's done properly.
I hadn't even thought about that yet, because you could put...
That's more advanced sort of Drac play that I think a lot of people kind of use the trail just to burn a shit card in their hand, which, okay, you can do that and you can clear a trail, but if you're doing it on a different level, then you can bounce hunters across the place, and you could pretty much take most of their health out without Drac even touching them. So it does have that advantage as well, if that's how you play the game.
Because I think that's a thing that I discovered when I played a couple of newer players who'd come in with that mentality, where, because obviously if you walk into a lair, yes, assuming that the city had been discovered when it was on the trail. If it wasn't, then even better. But hunters can probably work out what it was anyway. But if you, fine, it reveals the location. But if Dracula is sitting there with 3, or thanks to Dracula's brides, potentially 4 encounters on that card, then no hunter is going to walk onto it, especially if it's a 1v1. Like, you can't do it. And it's so annoying. Like, it's even more infuriating for the hunters going, I know where Dracula is, but I can't fucking do anything about it. And it's just, but it requires a lot of setup, and you need things to go the right way. But I've seen it being done. And it's definitely not impossible to do. So hunters then have to be incredibly patient and hope that they can get Dracula once he's walked off the lair. But
well, that's the point I was going to make. You addressed it. The problem with that is, you want them to land on you unexpecting it. And again, a layer not being revealed first time round is great, because you can just go back and keep adding it, and you want them to land on you and go, oh shit, I didn't know Drac was here. Because like you say, all they have to do is, Drac can stay there, he could then possibly hide and throw someone else down, and you can have a location where 4 or 5, which is, well, fantastic. But all you've got to do is, especially if you've already wolf formed, all you've got to do is place 1 hunter on each location around it, which pretty much you can cover 4 out of 1. And then he's got to move into one of you, which all of a sudden the other 3 can jump onto you as well. So you don't want to be stuck there as Drac when they're all like, kind of standing there shouting at you saying, we want to come and get you, who have you got? Because they'll just stand and wait for you to come back to them. Unless, of course, you're at a coast, then you can fuck off to sea, and then they've got to deal with it. So
absolutely.
it's just how you play your game, I guess.
So where would you put this? Kind of like
brides would probably be. I'd probably have it. I mean, again, I like the corrupt. If we just ignore the ally side, the corrupt side, and again, it is good, but like you said, it all comes down to what you have in your hand. I'd probably put it in what we got, S, A, and I'd probably put it in a B.
Okay.
I'd say it's probably the strongest. No, I was going to say that about the ally, but the allies are all shit. I'd probably have it. S, A, B. Yeah, kind of middle of the road there.
All right. Okay. Next one. I don't think it's a card I've ever received. I've seen it being played a couple of times, but I've never got it myself.
Oh,
Enraged.
I like this. I like Enraged.
So basically, you basically stop your combat card being cancelled, and then you can do whatever your Dracula card wants you to do. You can't resolve escape as battle, escape as miss though, so that's probably one downside to it. You can't use it to escape, but the whole point is you're enraged, right? So you can't. You want to stay in the combat. So go on then. If you like it, you tell me about why you like it so much. On you go.
Well, one of the things that is a common, or people that haven't played it might think about it, is it says there, play when one of your combat cards would be cancelled. So if you fanged and the hunter plays knife, they will still have their knife action. You'll still take 3 damage. It doesn't destroy their card. It stops yours from being cancelled. So that's a common, people think they play it and, oh great, I've destroyed the hunter's card. No, so you'll fang first and take your health, and then they'll knife, so you pretty much get back to where you were. What is good about it is obviously if they're trying to dodge, for example, or something, then your card will play. So therefore, or if they've tried to rifle, you're going to do 4 damage and they do 2. The claws is a good one to play with this at night, and obviously it's going to be at night.
Yeah.
Again, to remember, escape is bat and mist. You can't do it. I've seen that happen where they throw down escape as bat in round 5 and go, hang on, I think there's a glitch. It's like, no, you played enraged. And I just like it because what it does is the hunters all of a sudden, especially if one-on-one's always easiest, but if it's a one-on-one, then all of a sudden it's a case of, oh, shit, right, hang on a minute, I need to watch what I'm doing here. Because if they've got 3 health and they use a knife and think that's it, then, as we all know, Drac goes first. So his fangs kill, and that's it,
Or
so...
a situation where, like you said about the knife example, well, yeah, the knife would trigger, but unless it's a fangs that's going to bite, like to bite the hunter, then they get bitten and they leave the combat and potentially die from it if it's meaner, and then the knife never triggers, and then Dracula's sitting there fucking smirking or smug. I think the other things too is like Dracula has like strength and mesmerize already, which counter quite a lot of things that the hunters can do, but obviously you can't, unless you have a fangs, you can't counter Heavenly Host. But then if you play mesmerize, then you can stop the Heavenly Host, and then because obviously this card only triggers when something could be cancelled. The hunters don't know it unless they've somehow seen it with Behind the Veil or whatever. Hunters don't know it, so the hunters are all going to, oh yeah, he's played mesmerize, I've got Heavenly Host, yeah, we've done it, and it's like, nope, never mind. And now Dracula knows you have Heavenly Host. You know, it's not assumed. It's because obviously in that situation the mesmerize would cancel the Heavenly Host, because that's what mesmerize does. And they said like, oh shit, now he knows I've got Heavenly Host and I haven't used my Heavenly Host, and now I'm mesmerized, so I now could be bitten. And it just it's yeah.
Yeah, it's a good. I mean, I think
interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, the mesmerize doesn't cancel Heavenly Host, so that would kick off.
Well, it would, because mesmerize says you cancel the hunter's combat card. If I remember correctly, let me quickly check.
The Heavenly Host, because it's like a fang and a knife. The knife would still, if you play fangs and they play knife, you lose it. So basically, because the mesmerized symbol is the same as the Heavenly Host, the Heavenly Host will still kick off.
No, but the description of mesmerize says you cancel the engage hunter's combat card. So the Heavenly Host now is just irrelevant. Assuming if that is the way it works, that is. Mesmerize just cancels whatever the card is.
But the Heavenly Host isn't classed as a weapon as such, is it?
It says combat card. Not weapon.
No, but I'm sure I've played where I've drawn Mesmerize and they draw Heavenly Host, and the Heavenly Host is kicked off because the symbol matches.
Oh yeah,
that's the only thing. So
yeah, but if you have enraged.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
If you played the of course that's in a normal situation. But if you play the enraged, then the mesmerize triggers first, and it says it cancels the combat card. So now the Heavenly Host is useless. It doesn't get consumed. It goes back. It stays out, and the hunter can get it back. The turn after, or 2 turns later. But now the Dracula knows. Well, I've used the enraged, but I've stopped your Heavenly Host, so that stopped 4 damage right off the bat. And I now know you have a Heavenly Host. And that might be the only combat card that the hunter has. And now they're mesmerized, which means I'm even more susceptible to a fangs. So it's kind of like...
Again, the enraged doesn't cancel their card.
No, but the mesmerize
does. Doesn't cancel yours. So mesmerize against Heavenly Host. Heavenly Host the mesmerize wouldn't cancel that card because if you're using enraged, because all it would do is you'd play mesmerize, which would be a punch. So you'll punch, but they'll still kick off with a Heavenly Host because the card's not cancelled on their end.
But no, but mesmerize clearly states that the whatever the combat card is that the hunter's played, it's cancelled.
Yeah, but I'm sure. No, I think in the digital though, I'm sure there's been occasions where I've played mesmerize and they've drawn Heavenly Host, and the Heavenly Host has gone off because you've matched the symbol.
We're gonna have to play. We have to play test this now.
Yeah, I'm sure that's it, because it's like if you play fangs and life is drawn, then I get what you're saying. I saw that the card, and you're right, it might be another ambiguity, but I'm almost 100% that if Drac has drawn mesmerize and I've drawn Heavenly Host, I'm like yes, because you've matched the symbol. The symbols cancel it, and then Heavenly Host kicks off. So.
I don't know.
I'm sure that's
because the way combat always works is Dracula's card triggers first. Whatever Dracula's card says, that is what happens unless the hunter card has matched the symbol. So the way I interpret that rule is, right, if you play Mesmerize and then there's a Heavenly Host, yeah, in a normal situation, yeah, absolutely. Heavenly Host wins and Dracula takes 4 damage, there's no Mesmerize. Fucking goodnight, Dracula. But if it's an Enraged, then will trigger. My understanding of the card is Mesmerize would trigger first, the Hunter's combat card is cancelled, so then Heavenly Host does nothing. And it's not lost.
I'm just looking at.
So that's.
So I'm looking at the.
As I said,
yeah,
I've never seen this card. I've never played this card myself because I've never got it.
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, because so all it does is it doesn't cancel card that's been played against you. So
it just allows it allows the Dracula's card to actually trigger. So that could be a way. That's why Enrage could be good, because you can play a Mesmerize all the time, and you know it doesn't matter what the hunter plays. If they play Punch or Heavenly Host, well, you can Mesmerize them and cancel their card. If they play a weapon, well, you're not going to play Enrage anyway, so it doesn't matter. I don't think. I think that because again. No, I think it's just the way it's saying here, because their card isn't cancelled. So, and look at this, I've got the Heavenly Host card here. If you're engaged Hunter and Fangs is played, you're bitten removed, then discard it. Otherwise, the vampire suffers 4 damage. So it doesn't say, and because you've got the Mesmerize symbol on it, it counters Punch, it counters Mesmerize for Drac anyway. So the only thing that defeats the Heavenly Host is Fangs. Obviously, Strength doesn't kill Heavenly Host, you'd still play it. Because Enrage doesn't cancel the Heavenly Host, it just lets your card play. Well, your card is a Mesmerize, so all it would, it's matched with Heavenly Host. But I think, I might have to test that, because I think interesting to find out. I think instantly, we're going to have to go play test, and then I might have to tag it to the end of this video or something, so I'm very interested.
He probably thinks I tried to, dodge or run away, and so we'll go for a Mesmerize. So, that's my only chance to victory here. Oh my gosh, I did it. Ha! Oh, does he have Enraged? Yeah, that's the one way you can cancel Heavenly Host with an Enraged. Oh, very cool. Well done.
Because that would make a huge difference. If Enrage acts the way that I read Mesmerize, then it's even powerful. If it doesn't, for the Fang and Knife example, totally agree with you. Claws and Rifle, totally agree with you, because unless the hunter dies for some reason, their weapon can still trigger. But the way Mesmerize is written, that it just cancels the hunter's combat card. I think that the problem with the digital edition is if you have a situation where maybe now I'm getting this wrong, but I think if Dracula plays Mesmerize and if the hunter played a dodge, the dodge animation still happens, where really that's not what should happen. Obviously in real life, nothing happens. They've mesmerized and they've dodged, but the dodge animation shouldn't happen because dodge is just now cancelled in this situation. But that's the way the mesmerized card is written. You cancel whatever the hunter wants to do, you can't do it anymore. That's what Mesmerize says. The problem is then if the animation still happens is when it causes a problem. I think we're gonna have to go and play test it. But I think it depends. If you play this at the right time and you can get a hunter kill with it, or you can bite them before they play a Fangs, or if it does cancel with Heavenly Host like I'm suggesting, then very strong. But obviously, the more and more hunters you gang up against Dracula, this is now becoming far less effective.
Yeah. I mean, it's one that you get, and again, as you say, it's more of a, it's a surprise attack for the hunters. If it's a 1-on-1, even a 2-on-1, you can manage it depending on what the status is of the hunters. But I mean, if you draw claws and they draw a rifle and they've got 4 health, you'll do your damage and they die. Which is a good one, because the rifle, the claws are obviously the most powerful, especially at night. They can do it, 2 of them, and you pretty much kill. You get rid of 1 hunter, or you leave them with 1 health or whatever. So you're right with that. It doesn't, and again, it doesn't allow you to escape as bat or escape as mist. So, but again, by that stage, if I've got it, I mean, you can choose to play this, and you're only going to play this if you know you've got a good chance of killing the hunter. You're not going to just throw it down and see what happens, because it's only if you think, right, well, for example, instead of staying where you are and feeding, for example, what you might do is, if say you've trapped somebody in fog or whatever, then you could play enraged,
Oh,
and you could take them out in fog. Then you could feed them. You could kill them. So, but again, like we say with all the cards, it's depending on the context of it. You don't want to just. I've seen sometimes people just throw it down, and it's almost like, well, I'll play it just in case.
yeah.
And then, like I say, they try and escape and they can't, and they go, why can't I? So, yeah, like most of these cards, I mean, well, like the conversation you and I have just had, there's ambiguity about what do they mean by this. Does it cancel this? Does it cancel that?
Yeah.
If anybody knows, put it in the comments. I'm sure you will. But yeah, I was under the impression that if Mesmerize was played and Enrage was active, Mesmerize would, for example, you'd punch, but the card would still go ahead because the Heavenly Host usually against Mesmerize wouldn't affect. But yeah, we might have to look at
It's
testing that.
just the way I read Mesmerize. It clearly says you cancel the Hunter's combat cards or whatever it is. Doesn't happen. So if it's a Heavenly Host, if it's a punch, no. But then, would you use Enrage to cancel if the Hunter's punched a Mesmerize? Probably not. If it's a Heavenly Host, yeah, you would. But obviously, then it all depends on the situation. Because obviously, if the Dracula's played Strength and the Hunter has played Heavenly Host, then it doesn't matter. It makes no difference. It's only when the symbols, if you're playing the physical board game, where the symbols on the back of the combat cards match, it matters. In the digital edition, that doesn't happen. But the digital edition automatically does it for you without you can only pick combat cards and all that sort of stuff. The other thing from this is also you could use it for vampires. Probably going to save it for Dracula anyway, but if there's a situation, and I'm just imagining a game that I've just recently had, I've not played Enraged, but I could imagine a situation this could happen if I had Enraged, was if the Hunters are desperately trying to kill the vampire, otherwise they could just lose the game, you could really fuck with them by putting an Enrage down at just the right time. If they're like, I don't have a stake, right, I'll throw down a fucking Heavenly Host to kill this reckless vampire, and you're just like, nope, I'm going to mesmerize you now, and you can't do that. And then that's just, you can really fuck with them. But then, again, with the digital edition, because every time Dracula's combat card would be cancelled, it'll come up with the prompt to say, do you want to play Enraged? And obviously a lot of the time you'll say no, because it's not the right time. Then the Hunters will know, if they're good Hunter players and they know this card exists, they'll be like, what's that prompt for? That's probably for an Enrage. And then you got that in your head, they've got an Enrage. Obviously, the physical board game, unless the Dracula player for some reason goes, I've got Enrage, I'm not going to play it now. You're not going to know it. So,
yes, correct.
Yeah, interesting. I was actually going to say, I was just going to where are we going to put it? Where are we going to put it in our little tier list?
Yeah, again, middling again. There's only one of them, and as you say, it's. The reason I liked it was because I've won a few games using it, which is handy to have, and it's always sod's law. It seems to be if you get a card, you get it, and people look at it and go, Enraged, fuck's sake. I want Brides or Devilish, and a lot of people seem to just dismiss it, or I've seen them just, I'll just play it now. And you're like, this could be the difference between you winning or losing a game. So, probably middling a game, B, I would say, because again, like you say, it's got to be used in the right way. It doesn't, and again, if you're a Drac that's low on health and you play it, then you can't escape. So
and also then the way that we play in the community, where if we're playing fast horses, Hunters would, instead of trying to do lots of 1v1 combat where Enrage would be really good, we try to do 1 3v1 or 4v1 and just kill Drac once, and that's it. Obviously a lot of times that doesn't happen, but that's the aim. And obviously then Enrage would not be as good in this situation unless you can kill a Hunter and you win before all the other Hunter players can actually do their turn in combat. I
mean, otherwise you're stuck in a location, as you say, for the rest of them to jump on. So maybe a C then. Maybe not as.
It all depends. Somewhere in between those would probably be fair for me. I was going to say though, just quickly, I forgot to say with your camaraderie comment that you made earlier, I totally agree. I think as a Dracula player, when you're playing in person, when I've played it a couple of times in person, I egg, especially if I play with friends, I'll egg them on a bit, go on, do a Knights of Light, come on. Whereas obviously when we play normally 1v1 here, because unless you and I play with voice call, there's no interaction with the other player, so you're not egging them on to do Night Supplies or whatever. So,
and I think there just seems to be less of a. Again, you're probably right. It's obviously the digital side is taking away the human element of it, where you're playing somebody. It's a faceless player. You don't know. You're just playing them, and some people want to converse, some of them don't in the chat. So you're kind of just going, right. Well, fuck it, I'm playing to win. Whereas normally you're going to be sitting around a table with friends, and you can go and try another one. You'll have one friend in a group that's fucking reckless and is going to go, I'm going to try it again. They might supply every night, and they might get 3 out of 4 that is like, they get one hunter card and it's success for them. And you're like, happy days, and the rest of the team are shouting at them, or but it's all taken with like, oh, nice. Whereas with this, it's digital, so you're removing that side of it. So and again, the way the kind of meta is now, that hunters are all just like, well, do nothing until you supply and supply and supply, and then just, you can even risk, Dracula getting 7 points, and then, right, guys, we all ready? Right, attack. And then it's like, right, oh well, okay. It's the way to win. It's the way the game can be played, and that's not a problem. But there is more enjoyment with the tabletop, if you like, rather than this. When it comes down to that, and even myself, I found myself, oh, fuck it, I'll draw at night and see. It's like, oh shit, right, there you go. Whereas this, if you do it and you draw, the laptop's almost out the window, because you're like, what have I given them? Because again, you just don't have that, relationship with the players that you're playing. We're a good community, but we don't have a relationship with people that you kind of like, oh, you play them for the game and that's it. You're not going to see them next week or whatever. So, that's the only thing. But
I think that's obviously the digital edition's great because you can learn the game much quicker. It's more accessible. You don't have to suddenly think, right, guys, there's like 5 of us, or how many people are going to play through a Dracula person, right? When are we all free? All right, we're going to have to book it a month from now, kind of thing. Whereas, digital edition, we can just suddenly go, do you want a game? Yeah, let's go, right? And it's much quicker than that.
Absolutely.
But the human element is just, and you can then wind up people, and then if anyone watched like the tabletop version with Will Wheaton, there's one player in particular who's like a little bit role playing, like, oh yeah, I'm a gambler, fuck it, let's just keep getting these Knights of Flies. And it's funny. It's even funnier then, I think. It's that more humor like side of the game. Obviously, I'm trying to win. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so False Trip's an interesting one. I think most people see it as a way of cancelling Chartered Carriage, which is obviously good way to use it. But the other thing that maybe I hadn't realized for quite a long time was if the hunter moves normally by railway, not using Chartered Carriage, you can then play False Tip, but then you can actually just punt them in the opposite direction, which is just amazing. But obviously then again, the big problem with this is you play False Tip and the hunters go, I've got good luck, so no, you can't do that actually. And it doesn't have to be the same hunter either. It could just be any hunter goes, I've got good luck, so yeah, fuck you, Dracula. I'll keep doing that Chartered Carriage, thanks. So I don't know how I feel about it.
There's not a lot. To be fair, it's one of those, you play it, and as you say, you're relying on the hunters punt and good luck. To be honest with you, I probably wouldn't keep good luck in any of my hands if I had, there's better cards which is probably why we put it both in a low tier. So you're relying on the fact that if they haven't got it, great. Again, Chartered Carriage, all it does is cancel that card. And as you say, the other good thing is, if they use a white 3 to get to you, from Bordeaux to get to you, then all of a sudden you can just punt them down, stick them in Lisbon.
Yeah.
And they've wasted a ticket. So.
But they have to get the ticket back, and then they have to spend 2 turns trying to get up to you. I think that's probably the thing. It's like trying to work out what do the hunters lose, because it cancels Chartered Carriage. Do they lose Chartered Carriage? I'd say so, because you have to declare it and say I'm playing Chartered Carriage now. It's like no, you can't do that. So
I think cancels the card. They lose that, and again, or they lose a rail ticket. So because again, when a hunter spends a ticket token, so.
Yeah, because then they lose the day to try to catch up to where their original position was, and then go further. It can be really powerful if you know the hunters are going to jump onto you. You can avoid a 2v1 or a 3v1 lead. But again, because at least in the digital edition meta, it's all about fast horses. Chartered Carriage isn't played as much. It is played sometimes, and there are definitely cases. There's 3 of them in the deck. It's quite a common thing to do, but it's not as critical as it would be if you're like a group of people who play without using fast horses much, and then rail travel is more common. Then false tip could be a bad thing for them. But
the thing is, well, it's you don't know. The hunter, their ticket shows. And then it says, do you want to play this? You play it. And if they've just got a 2-1 and they move 1 yellow trail, you're not really moving them anywhere you know, if they're in Genoa, for example, and they've got a yellow one, you're either moving them closer towards you, or you're just having to move them one away, which they can get you the next day. So, you know, it's, if you were able to see what they, they've got 3, that's interesting. But you know, it comes up, do you want to play it? Again, it's only if they're going to be getting close to you. But no, I wouldn't. If I got this, I wouldn't be fucking hoopalila about it. You know, I'd be like, all right, okay.
Neither. No, so I don't know. I've put it down in C, but
Yeah.
um,
Okay, doke.
right, next one. Grey Wolf, another ally effect, potentially. Pounce, you just choose one hunter, they suffer 4 damage unless they have a Crucifix or Heavenly Host, and if it gets cancelled by that, then that card's just gone. Ally is you put it in, and you can just keep picking a hunter every turn, and then they take a damage unless they reveal the desired item, Crucifix or Heavenly Host. So there are 5 of those items in the deck in total. So it's potentially, you know, every hunter could have a Heavenly Host or a Crucifix, or. But often, at least we'll talk about this when we talk about the items. But Crucifix is often quite an underrated thing, and often people don't hold on to Crucifixes. And obviously, Heavenly Host can get used up in combat or whatever. So.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Crucifix again is something to come on to, but yeah, I do think it's underrated. I mean, especially bear in mind how many times has a Dracula or a Vamp left a battle as missed.
Yes.
You know, a fucking lot.
So many
annoying.
Times. Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, obviously you've got to play this at the right time, but if they don't know you've got it and you play it, and I mean, again, we're kind of the, you know, but the Crucifix, it's the only one that does 3 items. You know, it stops Fangs, it stops Mesmerize, and it stops Escaper's Mist.
Yeah, 3 combat cards. Sure. Yeah.
You know, it's a good one, albeit it's not a weapon in as much as bodyguards will break it. It's not a conventional weapon, but yeah, I think that. Yeah, the Great Wolf, again, ally, you know, if they've got good luck, it's irrelevant. And I had this once, fucking Rossco's luck. If it wasn't for bad luck, there'd be none. I drew this and I was like, right, stick it as an ally. Every fucking hunter had Heavenly Host, Crucifix, and every beginning of every, you got to click on it and you got to choose some. You can't, you know. So you're going through rigmarole of like, well, they've all got. So you know, fucking all right. Pick Van Helsing. No, he's got that. Okay, delay. You can't get rid of it. Unlike hunters, you can't get rid of your ally unless you get another one. So it was like, nah. So, but Pounce, I've won a few games with Pounce. 4 damage is fucking healthy. And if you check the items deck for the burnt items, and you can see that all 3, for example, Heavenly Hosts are there, then, you know, the chance of somebody having a Crucifix, you can pretty much take 4 damage out of somebody.
Yeah.
So I'd use it as a big hit rather than, you know, relying on, you know, and again, the problem is the hunter, I mean, it's 1 damage. Nah. You know, they supply 2, and, you know, they supply every night, and you're just treading water with it. So
it's so annoying though, because every single night you're having to heal. You may want to do other stuff. You've got ticket economy to sort out. You may want to trade or do whatever. And you can't say like, oh shit, I've got to fucking heal now.
Well, there's that. But then again, if you're supplying during the day and they pick up a Heavenly Host, all of a sudden, you know, that's negated. Or if you've got a hunter with 2 Heavenly Hosts, you just meet up, you do a swap, and then, you know, that's it. But unless you knew, you know, you check the item deck and you saw that, okay, there is no more Heavenly Hosts, I can hit anybody. And again, if you hit it as an ally and one of them's got Crucifix, then you know you can go after the other 3. But it's too much. It's the whole, every start you've got to pick somebody. And again, when I did it, if you know they're all defending it, it just becomes a pain in the ass. So, but yeah, 1 hunter, 4 damage. If you've, you know, it's great to get. The only problem is, again, it's a play immediately.
Yeah, so you're having to make on-the-spot decisions like, oh shit, who has what? And especially if you've not had many interactions with the hunters, depending on when you get this card, it's just typical. I've done it a couple of times where I'm like, oh, I'll pounce you then, and then like, I've got a Heavenly Host. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake, really? I mean, like, now I know you have a Heavenly Host, but like, I've lost that. I haven't got that card now. Whereas maybe I could gain information by putting it as the ally, and that happened against me. I think it was Mr. Green played against me, and it's such a pain in the neck every turn. Going, oh shit, right, I've got to heal, and then eventually you'd come wise with like, oh, he's got a Heavenly Host now. Right, I'll start on somebody else. I'm like, oh shit, I don't have any of those items either, and it just became a bit of a nuisance having to deal with. I don't even know how I got rid of it in the end. If I got all the items or I got good luck, I honestly don't remember.
It's just a bind you get. I mean, the only reason that I had a soft spot again was a game I had this week. I think I told you about. I won the game with this. So not tonight's the one at the beginning of the week. Again, I won't say in case anyone's out there, but this was drawn. I got it, and Dalmu was in the ocean with 2 health. And the good thing is, you can choose any hunter. It doesn't have to be. They don't have to be on land. Yeah. He had 2 health. I knew he didn't have anything. Play it against him. He died. I won the game. So that was like, yeah. And I've had it before where I've just been lucky where I've managed to hit somebody. You know, the 4 damage is kicked in, and you know you either kill them or, like you were saying, you make them stop from. They might be thinking, right, 2 and 1 tomorrow. Let's go. If you do this at night, bear in mind it's going to be a night hit. So the following day, they've either got to heal, or if they're going to jump on you with 1, 2 health, are they going to risk that? So it's
Tell me what the encounter is that you've put down on your location, right? If it's just something like a bodyguards and they can't block that, it's like a walls they can block it with damage. But it's just like a bodyguards or rats, well, that damage is going to trigger, and you can't stop it. So yeah, I think a lot of it.
And the other thing is,
it's all timing. That's the problem with
this. It is. And the other thing is that, you know, in a scenario, you play Great Wolf against Mina, for example, she plays Heavenly Host. Oh, right, okay. And then she's about close to get you. And you know she's, say she's been separated from the pack, or you've got a chance to do it, then you might jump on her, because all you know is if you look at her hand, you might know that she's got fast horses and 1 other item. Well, it's a Heavenly Host. It's just been revealed. So then you could jump on it and you could work around killing Mina, so... It's all, I mean, you've got to be in. It's got to be a very specific, a piece of luck to get it at the right time, because again, it's immediate. But
only one of them, you have to get it right. It's like a lot of the hunter cards we were talking about. They can be really powerful if you get them at the right time, but they can also be a piece of shit if you get them just at the worst moment where you don't need them, or you don't have the information to make informed, really good informed decisions about who you're targeting. Yeah. So I don't know. I'd probably put it like in C, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'd class it as, I mean, I think, like I said, it's the, you say if you're late in the game and the hunters haven't used Heavenly Host, then probably 3 out of 4 are going to have one. But again, the ally side, if they've got 3 out of 4, you're never going to get an ally to work. So, yeah, C, maybe D. But it's nice to see it anyway. Great Wolf.
Okay. Hidden Schemes, nice simple one. It's like basically like the corrupt version of Dracula's Brides, but you just put an encounter on the first phase of the trail, nice and simple. You can play whatever you want, which I think is quite nice. It's not like Dracula's Brides, so you can just hold on to it and kind of be like, okay, the hunters have just dealt with an encounter on that space, I'll now pump something down, or whenever it's going to be most, or when do you get an encounter that is going to synergize quite well with the other encounter you have there, that you pop it in, or whatever. So,
and again, what's good about it is if the hunters have cleared third space, and it's so say they've landed on it and they've cleared it that night, and this arrives, you can then put another item on it.
Yeah, exactly.
But sometimes I've seen hunters that will it'll come up saying Hidden Schemes, but they might not necessarily think about it, and then all of a sudden they move on because they're chasing Drac or whatever, and it can be left lying there, and you're like, oh, or if they the first or second space, they move on. Once that first or second gets to the third space, you can then add this on. If the hunters are 2 away from that, then all of a sudden they've got to either go back to it, especially if you throw down a rumour token. So it's a nice little, it's better than the Brides, because again, you pick and choose when you want to play it, and you can double up on it. You could do a double vamp if all the stakes are in the discard pile. Double vamps and job done.
I was going to say, you'd feel so bad as a hunter player if you've dealt with a vampire on that space and you got rid of the last stake, or the last stake that you've currently got, because you're waiting for the others to come out, and then suddenly Dracula's like, oh no, there's another one now. I've just suddenly realised rumour token wouldn't work because it's on the third space of the trail, and then you would move. Unless, could you play this at the end of the Dracula phase? I don't think so.
Play at the end, yeah.
If you played at the end, maybe it would work. But then you've already... Oh yeah, then it would work. Yeah, but if you did it before...
Yeah, because you'd move. Yeah, and then it would second move into third, and then you play this, so you place down whatever in third.
But if it was already the third space, and then that shifted across, then it's out of rumour token range, so yeah. But there are ways you can make it work. But yeah, you can really mess with the hunters, especially if you know they've ditched lots of stakes early, or if it goes late in the game, who knows. Yeah. Just one more thing for the hunters to deal with is a pain in the neck, especially if you do put, or maybe there's a rumour token there already, because obviously the way it works is rumor tokens don't get discarded if the vampire, well, at least the way the digital edition does it, the rumor token just stays there.
Yeah.
So you can then just suddenly throw down something, and they're like, oh shit, is that a vampire there? Or is it something completely benign? But now we're having to waste time to go and check it, and then, it's asking for things, girls. It's nice and simple one. I'd probably put like just B. It's not like game breaking, but it's just a nice safe thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. You can use it your own, and it's causing problems for the hunters, so it's got to be a good one. Yep, stick it up there.
Right.
Oh,
What I want to go for next. Emmanuel Hildeshine, I guess is how you pronounce it.
yeah,
I mean,
it is the old captain of the ship.
Yeah. Do you even fucking bother with the ally effect? Like, what the like,
No.
Never gonna get played. The assist is just. I think, and this is something that we talked about, and I remember we talked about this in the Hunter event card, I think, event thing, and it's something that, again, I want to highlight, because I think it's really important. You look at this, and a Dracula play makes you go, oh, I can get lots of Dracula events, and that is true, but I think the real power of this card is that you can discard Hunter events, and if you catch it at the right time, and the game I was watching of you in the league, where this was played, and the hunters had to discard both forewarns, because at least in the digital edition, it's done face up. It even says here, discard the others face up. So Dracula has now huge information, where it's like, there's no more forewarns. Or I can't remember if it was a game, I can't remember if it was a league game or whatever, but the one I was playing, or I was watching or whatever, it was renewed vigor got discarded. And immediately I was like, right, there's only one. If they only can have one renewed vigor, and I think they might have played it earlier or whatever. I was like, right, now there's no renewed vigors, or if they have, it's buried in the bottom of the deck or whatever. Now I can operate under a lot more confidence that they don't have renewed vigor, so I can do this and this and this. Whereas the rest of the time I'm like, oh, do they have renewed vigor or not? I can't tell because of the prompts that you get at the beginning of the game. I was a little bit different in the board game edition, because obviously you're not going to be having all these prompts coming around. It's just powerful. If you get extra cards, great. If the hunter's having to discard lots of great cards, that's also, I'd argue, better, I'd say. If you have knowledge about what the hunters now no longer can ever get, because those hunter cards are never coming back, unless for some reason the hunters supply so much that the whole deck resets, which is highly unlikely. They're never getting those cards back. And you can
imagine that you draw that. All you see is Consecrated Ground, you see Money Trail, you see Hypnosis. You're like the game's. Fuck it, it's yours to lose at that stage, you know?
Yeah. You can then proceed accordingly, kind of thing, and that's just really good.
And it was interesting because to begin with, a lot of the players that they were using it to try and get back cards, which again is fine, especially when you're bereft of them, because hunters aren't supplying at night or running the risk of it. So you're kind of going, I want Drac to have 4. I mean, the good thing is it works either way. The fact of this is so unlike the Mystic, the Mystic Research burns the Drac cards. Likewise with this, you could draw Darkness Returns if you get it. But again, the good thing is it's the top 6, so you could get Darkness Returns, Devilish Power, and you burn 4 Hunter cards. There's no reason for Ally, because all that happens is, I mean, what it does do is obviously, if Van Helsing, if Seward rather draws card and it's a vampire, then Seward has to draw it. Van Helsing has to draw one to try and get a hunter, or to burn it rather. If then it's a card for Mina and it's a vamp card, she has to burn it, but then you're relying on the final one being a vampire card. And there's not many chances of that. Plus, good luck just gets rid of it. So you're always going to use it as assist, and likewise, as you say, I mean, even burning 6 cards and you're like, nah, okay. There's always going to be at least one in there that's a fucking strong card for the hunters not to have, and that's what it's all about. So it's an ST for me on the assist, regardless of anything else.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's the 2 effects. Ditching hunter cards is great, and getting Dracula cards is great, unless you get really unlucky with the type of Dracula cards you get. But then you're like, well, I can make it work then, I guess. It'd be interesting. I wonder what Hunter's side with Mystic Research, for example, just to flip it. So if they, how do you feel when you play Mystic Research and it comes up 6 Drac cards have been removed? Because the Hunters can obviously use that at night to their advantage if they've got 5 Hunter cards, for example, to play at night. So it's a kind of reverse on this. You want to see Hunter cards as a manual,
probably more so than vampire cards. Whereas for the hunters,
Yeah, I'd say so.
the last thing you want to see is 5 vampire cards and 1 hunter card, because you want to be sitting with as many night supplies as you can. So it's quite interesting how that card switches the dynamic.
I think so. Yeah, and I think for me, it all depends on what Dracula gets and what the hunters discarded. But like the game I was watching, where I think you were hunter. Oh, were you Dracula or hunters in this game? I think you were.
Yeah,
hunters.
it's just me and Quiet Joe. I think he got rid of my 4-wand and played Fog in London.
Yeah, and immediately I was just sitting there going like, there's so much information. They don't have full warned right now. Okay, you need to plan stuff, of course, but like, then you can put down whatever encounter you want, i.e. fog, in this case, and the hunters cannot do anything about it. And same like the renewed vigor thing, because obviously renewed vigor is like the biggest pain in the ass for Dracula. If it's a competent hunter player, you can win a game like that with a renewed vigor, because you can combine it with so many movement cards, fast horses, trading, goodness what else. But if you just know that renewed vigor's gone, you're like, happy days. I think the thing we talked about when we had the hunter thing as well is like, if Mystic Research discards all those Dracula events, okay, that's alright, but then if there's a Hopes Mature, that's even more Dracula cards that hunter has to pick from, that Dracula has to pick from. But this way, unless the entire event deck resets, which is highly unlikely to ever happen, because the hunters will not be supplying enough. If they are, they're not fucking moving at all, which is, the whole game is they have to try and catch Dracula. Then those cards are never coming back. There's no mechanism for the hunters to get back, and that for me is just so powerful. Just having that information, as you said, if you play a manual and you see CG sitting there, like, I don't have to worry about this card at all. I can now play in a completely different manner, and it's just it's too good. Now my question would be then, if you had the choice between a guaranteed Darkness Returns or a manual, which one would you pick? And he stumped, ladies and gentlemen.
I think I'd have to take. I would take a manual.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, Darkness Returns, okay, it was S tier, but so was the manual, so they're both in the same tier. Out of the two of them, again, what we've just said, 6 cards off the top. You're either going to get, something good yourself, or you're going to punt it.
Yeah.
There's one for the comments. Whereas, as we said with Darkness Returns, okay, you can move it, that could win you the game, but then again, the manual draws it, and like we say, CG disappears. And imagine CG and 2 renewed Vigors disappearing. You'd be struggling to lose the game with that. Do you know what I mean? What about you?
But
Andy stumped, ladies and gentlemen.
And then the counter would be, because I suppose it depends who you're playing against, but at least in our community, because a lot of the games end up going to the 4th week anyway, having that guaranteed Darkness Returns for the 4th week, where you can play it to get more points and potentially win from it, is very powerful. Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Again, the final week is only going to be, because usually, how many hunters do you see use renewed vigor in the final week, or use, if you go to the sea in the final week, for example, and they use Money Trail, and all of a sudden, or they use Hypnosis when you land, if they've been burnt, then the hunters are, they're flying blind for a bit, which allows Dracula enough time anyway to try and use other skill sets to get out of there. Plus, again, Emmanuel, he could have, these are, euphoric situations, but CG's been burnt, Hypnosis has been burnt. He also picks up Darkness Returns. So you could actually, you could pick up that as part of it. So
that's why I was forcing you, if you had the choice between a guaranteed Darkness, so you knew Darkness Returns was there. I think the issue.
I think I'd do a manual.
I think the things with the Darkness Returns, it's kind of one of these things like CG. It'd be burning a hole in your pocket the entire game. You feel like, shit, when do I play this? Do I play it now? No, not yet. I want to save it till later. And then if you die, then Darkness Returns is useless. Whereas at least with manual, you're like, fuck it, let's play it. And you get the effect instantly, and you get all that information instantly. So yeah, maybe. I think it's just, when you see a manual, you're just like, it's like kid in a sweet shop, like kid at Christmas, like, I want this thing. Whereas maybe Dark Returns is better. I don't know. It's a tricky one. But no, they're both insanely good cards. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, okie dokie. Maybe the one that's not quite so powerful. Nocturnal Visit, play at the end of Dracula phase. So basically, any dawn or day combat, which will be with vampires during the day or with Dracula at dawn, I play as if at night.
Mhm.
I mean,
I mean, good, and again, contextual. If you've had, if you've got 3 hunters jump on you, or no, let's say a 2v1 at night, and you manage to get away from it,
yep.
or you got through the fight, you might decide, right, okay, well, I'll feed, and then you can play this, and then you're fighting them again with night, depending on what you've done with them.
Especially if you've
But
broken
again,
weapons and stuff, and they can't
yeah,
move. They can't move away before this
can't
now
move, they can't
dawn
supply, they
combat.
can't heal.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
And all of a sudden they're fighting at night, and all you need, you could claw them both, and you could kill 2 hunters in one go. But there's only one of these, and it would have to be a very specific situation for it to work. Again, I've seen this thrown down. It's almost like people go, "Oh, this fucking card keeps fuck it, just get rid of it," hoping that it lands on someone. So you'd have to be in a very fortuitous position where you can make this work to do some damage. There's two, again, we're discussing the fact that you might not even get it. It's 1 out of 25. So
yeah. It's also then when.
But in itself, but I'd probably C this as well, or something, B or C, because
it's a bit too contextual, I think. Whereas in Rage, at least, I don't know. It's at least in Rage you play it during the combat, so you can work out. Whereas this, you're having to plan ahead of time, unless you've got like a hunter on your space. In fog or something, you can do like then basically 3 night fights in a row. Other than that, you're having to try and guess it. If you're doing it with like a vampire, you're having to guess like when is the hunter going to come on here and try to deal with this vampire, and then typically you fucking play it, and then they go, oh, I've got a stake, never mind, bye. And you're just like, oh, really? You can't play this. If you could play this when the combat is initiated, but then that'd be really unfair. Yeah. The hunters need to have this knowledge going, if we go into this combat here, then there's going to be like a night fight. Unless, of course, it's like something like if you're on Dracula's space and it just happens at dawn naturally and you can't do anything about it. But yeah, for a vampire, it's not great. So I'd say C probably. That's just my guidance.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Roadblock. The one where there's fucking loads of them, so you get this. You see there's quite a lot because there's three of them in the deck, so it's the most common one. You can play it whenever you want. And you place 3 roadblock tokens on the board, and then each dusk you can get rid of one of them. So they do stick around for quite a while. It's like a much better version of a Saboteur mature. But again, good luck could get rid of one of them. There are situations where this could be good. If you hold on to it and the hunters are surrounding you, you can put quite a lot of roadblock tokens around you, so then it makes it really fucking awkward for them to get, or they're having to then rely really heavily on a good fast horse roll, and depending on their economy, maybe they can't do it. But then just typical, they have good luck and then it's gone. But then again, will they hold on to good luck? Well, they've listened to our hunter tier list. Hopefully not. Hopefully they're ditching good luck. So then Dracula will be happy. But it's just like I have all of them. You're just like, it's not terrible. I wouldn't put it. It's not D tier. Maybe some of the others. Maybe something like Nocturnal. No, maybe not. I'd probably say it's still C.
I mean, I think it's again. I like the fact that you don't have to play it immediately. You can hold on to it. It's one of those, for example, if you go into the boot, you can pretty much block the boot, from Florence down. So again, you can have you can have a token, you don't want to stick it on Genoa because they can get round you, as you say, with fast horses, but stick it in Florence, stick it in Rome, then even if they've got good luck, one card, they might remove the Florence one, but then they're still blocked. And if you're in Barry, for example, it gives you a couple of period, about that. Subsequently, you can try and do a bit of confusion, misdirection with it, and you can throw down, if you've wolf formed or whatever it might be, you could stick down roadblock and let them think, oh, right, they've gone there. Again, the option is then hunters can either go, oh, you've obviously stuck that down there because you've gone the opposite way, whereas you could have actually played the simple way, gone there, and defended yourself. But if it forced them the other way, great. Yeah. Again, it can block Spain, which, depending if you're there. So, yeah, again, you can use it when you want to use it, which is handy. Again, say, for example, it's the final week and you're in Galatz, and then you can block access you know, from there, if you want to go to Castle Dracula, and again, there's 3 of them, so you know, you're probably gonna get more of them than you wanted anyway. But you one thing I do fucking hate about this, and probably everyone will with the digital fucking version, is so difficult to place the token on where you meant it to go.
Yeah.
Trying to get the location on, and see, and even when it asks you to clear, trying to fucking click to clear it. I've just clicked another one because it's easier. And I thought, fuck it, I'm not hanging about with this. But be careful, whenever you're using it, if you're close to a rail track,
Yeah.
make sure that one's highlighted, because all of a sudden you could block a road instead of a rail track, and you've ruined it. So that's the only issue with this, is it's so pernickety to get the roadblock where you want it. Whereas obviously on the tabletop, you just place it where and the good thing is on the tabletop tokens, obviously you turn them over. One of them's got road, one of them's got rail,
Yeah.
so you can actually show which one you're blocking. But yeah, that's the only one with this. It's such a ball ache trying to.
Just like you have to be really patient with it, and like the way I do it is if I'm really not sure, it's like, is that the road or the rail that it's done? I will then move my mouse a little bit, and then you'll notice for like the rail, it will suddenly move to a completely different location. I'm like, all right, that's now the rail position I've blocked. Like, I'll go back to the other ones. You have to be really patient with it. It's so funny though when you get this card, or especially if it's like a saboteur mature or whatever, and like the whole map lights up like a Christmas tree with all the red and yellow lights highlighted, like, oh my god, just like oh, the light in my eyes. It's very funny though.
Yeah, then you're like, oh shit, there's a road between Naples and Bari, Naples and Rome on the coast. Shit.
I never knew that. Yeah. It's such an additional addition. That is a very hidden road, I must admit. Yeah.
Oh
I
hell
think,
yeah.
I think the other thing you can do with this, which I'm going to just quickly highlight, is instead of using it to protect yourself, you can actually do it to, like, if there's a vampire that's about to mature, the hunters are like, oh well, we'll just move into it the next day. You roadblock around it, and they're like, oh fuck, now I can't get in here to do it, or they have to go around the long way, and then it means they need a ticket or they need a fast horse roll, and then, you know, depending on your luck, they might not have it, or they might not roll well, and then that thing's going to mature. So you can do it to fuck around with the hunters. It's quite funny.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as you say, if you've got a vamp in Athens that's due to mature, you can block it and they're going to get to you. You know, so you stick it between Valona and Athens. You do one at Salonika. You do one at fast. They can only take one out of the way if they've got good luck. If they don't, then it can mature. So yes, it's a useful delay tactic. And if you get it, don't use it too quick. Again, it's about picking the right time to hold it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, ultimately, unless something absolutely insane happens, Dracula has a hand limit, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. It 4? I think it's 4 event cards that Dracula can hold at once.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only point is if you keep holding a lot of these, then eventually the hunters might be like, oh fuck, we're just gonna keep that as a blind. Then you're gonna have to choose what thing you discard. So you might then want to play something so you've got a free slot in your hand, but like normally you're gonna get one per game. So just hold it, wait until you see you get a really good opportunity to use it, then go for it. And
even if you're lucky to get a double roadblock, and for whatever reason the hunters have gone fucking crazy and start supplying at night, and you manage to get one to burn, and just burn one roadblock. I mean, you're getting 3 roadblocks with one card. That's all you need.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to keep it and do 6 and all that, because all you gotta do is spend more of your time trying to fucking click the right one to remove. Just keep one. You get 3 for it. So burn the rest and just fill them with other stuff. So yeah, probably a CB cusp, I would say. It's a delay action. So.
I'm not sure where to put it. I don't know if it's a B or a C. I'm not certain. I think maybe it's better than Nocturnal Visit. Is it better than False Tip? I don't.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, because no. I would say it's better than False Tip because you get the choice where to place them.
Yeah.
Again,
where's the hunters?
You don't know what you've done.
Yeah, that's true. You have to wait for the hunters to pay charge cards and then you go for it. You're in more control.
And I guess with this is the good, if they use good luck, say, to burn one of them, and they've used their only good luck, for example, if then, and again we're talking in fantasy worlds, if you draw another card and it's an ally and you want to play it, knowing that good luck can't be used, then all of a sudden you might decide, oh right, I will start doing this. So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. I think also if you throw down like 2 roadblock cards at once. It says on the card, after each task, choose and remove 1 roadblock token from the board. But is that... at least the way that I think, if I'm not mistaken, the way the digital edition determines that rule is one roadblock from all the ones on the board, not from the group of 3. So if you throw down 6 of them, you can remove one. So
You can choose which one you want. Yeah.
You can keep some up for even longer. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's almost pretty much a full week. Now one of those roadblock toes are going to be sitting there, and it could be, if you do it in the right place, it could be an absolute pain in the arse to deal with. You have to go around the long way. So yeah, okay, so we'll say somewhere between B and C, above false tip. Is it in quite B tier? Maybe.
Yeah, on the cusp. On the cusp. Considering what's left to go, it's probably higher up than the others.
Yeah. Seduction was a card that I was really excited to use in one of my games, and I couldn't fucking use it because the hunters didn't fucking search. You see this card, you're like, oh, I can kill Mina with this, right? That's what it screams, right? And because I think, would Great Strength work against it? Because Great Strength is technically a combat event, so I don't think Great Strength would counter this.
No, this would just this is the event it does. So.
Oh no, it says play during combat. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so it wouldn't. Yeah. So what was the card? Oh, hidden schemes. I'll just go back to the main. No. Oh, fuck's sake. Very professional thing I'm doing here. Right. So I would love to use it, but the big issue with it is that typically with the one hunter who gets it, it's not fucking Mina. So you can't kill her, because that's kind of what you want it for, right? You want to kill Mina when she's not expecting it. And also the other problem with this card is if you do use this, then the vampire doesn't stay on the trail. It's returned to your hand. So at least you haven't discarded it, but now it won't mature. So I guess the only way it'd be good is if they're searching it and you can then use this, and there's a vampire later down the trail that's going to mature sooner. So, but like, such a awkward combination of things to get right. And then, if it's fucking Van Helsing gets bitten, well, so fucking what? It's like, it's such a waste. I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah, I think to this it's more when I've used it, and it's not been on a frequent occasion. I've looked at, I think, again, as you say, as long it's only Mina it's really going to affect, unless of course you've already bitten another hunter. But most of it to me was more, okay, well look, if a hunter lands on the go and search, and you know that they're landing because they've got a stake, then you remove that because it's going to get destroyed anyway. Bring the vampire back into the deck, and then you can place it down another time.
I mean, that is true. Yeah. Is the stake just? Does the stake get discarded? I don't think so, because instead of resolving the encounter, so no, they would keep the stake, but then you keep the vampire, just kind of equals out.
Yeah, so they get bitten anyway, and you keep the card. So, so again, yeah, they're all gonna get one bite anyway, which, again puts them on the back foot for the next. If you do a night battle and you do a mesmerize and a fang, you're gonna kill pretty much them all. Because bar Van Helsing, they're gonna be 2 bites and that's it. Plus, if you've bitten them, you can now. You're going to see 2 of their cards, which is always quite nice. If they've only got, say, 3 cards in their hand, you can see 2 of them, then it's like, oh, you've got that. Right, okay. And again, it's all about information gathering for Drac. So,
yeah, absolutely.
The thing is, you've got to, it's you play it when they search. So
then, but then the issue is then too, then you obviously, if you're ambushing with vampires, which is kind of what you want to do because you want to get points with Reckless Vamp, or you want to do damage, if they then just kill the vampire in that ambush combat, well then Seduction doesn't get triggered because then the vampire's already dead. I don't know, this is a card I was really excited to get, but then maybe just the game I played when I got this, I couldn't use it in the right moment. I think maybe the hunter player might have realised I had Seduction because obviously the trigger prompt was coming up, and they're like, oh well, I'm just going to make sure that Mina never ever searches fucking anything. I don't know, like, it could be a really cool thing, and you feel really great as a Dracula player if Mina searches stuff, and you're like, aha, you're dead now, and that could be a lot of points, depending if it's late on in the game. That's a dead hunter, plus the points, plus all those items and events that have now been discarded, and you got the vampire back. There's quite a lot of good stuff from it, but
I like that it's kicked in before any hunter card's resolved. So, say for example, your final, vampire is about to mature. They might jump on it. They've tried to get, they might just decide, all right, fuck it, heroic leap. But that doesn't kick because you're getting the vampire, you're biting them, and you bring the vampire back, so they can't even kill you with a heroic leap. So, do you know what I would see this as? This is a nice one to have up your sleeve. If you have it, great. Because if they search again, it only flags up when they actually search that location, and you can hit them with it. And obviously, they've got to have a vampire there. But yeah, if you had to fill it, would I rather have this in Roadblock? Probably.
Really? Oh, interesting. You're just asking for you're just asking for this not to be. It won't fit the right circumstances that you want for it to be effective. Whereas at least Roadblock, you're in control of it. If it's like a card like this, because you need the hunter to do the search action, and you need the hunter that you want, because you want to try and get it to kill potentially, or if it's someone who's already bitten, but then that might not happen. Whereas Roadblock, you're in control, and you're like, no, I want these roadblocks now.
Yeah, but again, it's after the first night you've got to remove one anyway. So the hunters, you're only going to get one extra night, and then you've got to unless, like we spoke about, unless you've placed them on a bottleneck or somewhere. But with this, if you're getting a bite on any hunter, bar Van Helsing, you're either going to kill Mina with it, which is great, and it destroys her cards, or you're going to have Van Helsing and Godalming and Sued with bite. So the next time there's a night battle, again, do they remember they've got a fang already, and all you got to do is do a mesmerize and a fang, and it makes it a lot easier to kill a hunter. It's just an added, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Roadblocks aren't going to do anything. I know we spoke about it, but this card I would have a bit more above it, because the roadblocks, again, if good luck's used, one gets done, they move around it. This could kill a hunter, and as you say, if it's last week, and they've got, if you killed Seward with this, for example, that's eight cards gone, and he's dead.
Yeah.
That's huge. So, as I say, I'd like it it's a nice to have, because again, if they jump on it and search, they're not expecting you go right, boom, seduction, there you are. And you get the vampire back in your hand as well, which again, if you've already burnt your attacking vampires, for example, you've now got this back in. So again, you've got the option to play it. Yeah. So, yeah, I think, this is where they're going to move around, but certainly, yeah, I would have it probably just half a card above Roadblock.
Okay, so again, somewhere between B and C then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Quite a lot going there. Okay, maybe I just got unlucky, I just couldn't utilize it. But as I said, I've had so few occasions where I've had Dracula cards, and it's been very weird to suddenly go, oh right, I've only had one experience with having seduction in my hand, so then,
I think there's probably biased views for you and I, because, I don't know, I've probably played more tabletop of the game, where you're more likely to get vampire cards, because again, it was just discussed earlier, you're playing with friends and it's a bit more of a camaraderie and a bit more kind of like, go on then, take it, I dare you to, go on pussy. And then you draw a vampire card and you're like, haha, told you. So I've probably played a lot more of these cards than you would ever in the digital version, because again, hunters they just don't supply at night unless you've got that option. So yeah, it's a nice one to have. It's a nice one to have. Christ, at this stage of the game, any vampire card you get is kind of nice to have. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you take over nothing, obviously. Yeah. I was gonna say though, all those bites that could be thrown down. Blood transfusion.
Oh yeah, the card that everyone burns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you imagine, eh?
Yeah, the one time you get seduction, like, yeah, I've got it, but they just like that blood transfusion. Like, oh come on, really? I waited like 1,000 years for this one Dracula card, and then you just burn it with the worst card in the game. Oh my god, yeah.
What kind of hunter are you that keeps blood transfusion? Fuck's sake.
Yeah, you got to be unpredictable, right? Am I right?
Kind of get nomad to kick you out of the game. Yeah, you're like that. Fuck, I'm not having that. This guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Okay, so Sensationalist Press. Let's be brutally honest here. Unless it's like a really unusual circumstance where evil presence or local rumors is actually going to reveal your location, it's going to be to cancel newspaper, right? Come on.
Yeah.
And of course you can't do it for hired scouts, because you'd have to cancel the card before the hired scouts picks. Surely you don't know where the hunter's going to pick. So unless it's like you've rule formed and they're ruling out locations, then maybe. But come on, it's going to be a cancelled newspaper card, surely.
Yeah, or evil presence if you're at sea and you've got hunters on the coast.
Oh, I mean, yeah, if you follow Scot-sword's epic strategy, then yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you hack the game,
If you actively know that local rumors or evil presence is going to reveal your location or give the hunters so much information that they'll be able to work it out, then yeah, but like, this is like
But again, the problem is the counter to that is, yeah, if you use this, if evil presence comes up and this is then actioned, makes the hunters might think, right, well, you've obviously actioned that because you don't want to be revealed, so you're either in, adjacent to a hunter or whatever it might be.
yeah, that's also true. Yeah,
that's the problem. Either or you play it to kind of, because you can only play it when they do that, so you can't throw it down to kind of go, I'm going to misdirect you and say, it's not like a roadblock. You're playing it and they're going to go, right, so you didn't want evil presence to appear, so you're adjacent to one of my hunters, are you? Right, okay. Newspaper would be great because, again, I mean, the chances are you're not going to get this in the first week, this sensationalist press, but it would just mean if the newspaper report was drawn in the first week and you had this, that would be
but as you said,
a nice way to start the game.
What are the chances of you having sensationalist press first week?
Yeah.
Impossible. Not impossible. Like, okay, it's not impossible, but like, again,
it's not far off. It ain't far off impossible.
In the tabletop version, when there's maybe a few more night supplies, it could happen, but like in the digital edition of our community with the meta we play, almost impossible. I remember I played a game, and the poor Dracula player got a hoax to mature, so really I got no newspaper. Got a hoax to mature, and the card they got from the hoax was sensationalist press. He was like, oh, I feel so sorry for this. Like, of all the fucking things you could have picked. It's grim, but yeah.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, like, is this a D tier card?
Yeah, fuck it, stick it in. Because again, like you say, what are the chances you're going to get it? And if you're going to get it late game, chances are all the hired scouts, evil presence, papers. I mean, local Romans I think we have that on low tier for that anyway, because it's only where you are rather than everywhere.
Yes.
Where
the hunter is, absolutely. Yeah.
So and there's only one of these sensations. So like you say, it's probably never going to see the light of day. But it would be fantastic if in the first week they drew it, or they had one and they were going to draw it on the 5th day. Nope, cancel that.
Yeah.
But alas, farewell, sensationalist press.
Right, okay, summon storms. So this, again, you can play wherever the fuck you want. You put storm tokens on the board.
Yeah.
So in case people don't know what storm tokens are, you just put them on sea spaces, and they remain there, and it's like roadblocks. They're basically like sea roadblocks, is the way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put them up, hunters cannot go into they can't go into the sea space that has the storm token. So basically you can go to Cagliari and pop that all around you, and you're safe for many turns. You can go to the UK, and you're completely safe. Until you start removing them, but then you can choose how you remove them, so you can do it in a way that makes it really awkward for the hunters. They have to go around the long way, or they have to wait for all the tokens to be gone for them to then move to try and find you, or to get to you. It's I think this is the one in my game. The game I played Dracula Brides, and then as soon as the game finished, in the next couple of days when I was thinking about it, I was like, you fucking idiot, you should have picked this card. You should have just gone there. I could have gone to Cagliari safe, because it actually ended up in the game. I ended up going to Cagliari, and I was sitting there going, oh shit, maybe they have excellent weather. Oh fuck, I can't stay here. If I just had summoned storms, I could have put it up and been safe for like 3 turns to do whatever I wanted and then keep going. It's just, I missed a huge trick with that one.
And I like the fact this is one of the few cards that the hunters cannot cancel.
Oh, that is a really good point. Such a good point. It's not like roadblock where you can just go like, right, yeet, get rid of that. No, there is no counter to this.
And I think one of the others, just in case anyone is new to this, has never seen summon storms, one of them to point out is hunters cannot move into a sea zone, but if you place storms on a sea zone they're in, they can still go back to port. They're not trapped there by sea, so it's going into a space, it's blocking a sea, rather than if you throw it down in North Atlantic and Godalming's there, he can still move back to port. Even if you've blocked, North Atlantic and Irish Sea or whatever, so
or move to an adjacent sea space as long as it hasn't got a summon storms token on it.
Yeah. And again, and there's the option of protecting yourself, like you said, but also, which I've done in the past, if you're in the UK as prime example, and you've got 2 hunters, ideally that have come on there, jumped about, you escape, throw down that, and you trap them into the UK. You do North Sea, English Channel, Irish Sea. And what are they going to do? Or you can even do North Atlantic English and North at sea. You know, if they want to go to sea, they can. You remove it, but yeah, you're trapping them, and again, it's all about you're weighing up whether it's going to protect Dracula or delay the hunters. But if you can trap them, or
So
you know,
better.
say you, yeah, absolutely, you've got that covered as well. So it's it's a very strong card for me. The fact that it can't be cancelled is pretty high up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that just makes it a really powerful card. Okay, so now I've got a really interesting dilemma for you then. I don't know, where are we putting this in terms of tier? Is it A tier or do you think it's S tier?
I mean, if we look at the amount of gameplay or how Draculas play the game, most of them will go to sea at some point in the game, right? So I think if you get this, you're like, oh fucking yes. Again, it's about when do I play it, you know?
Yeah.
You want to play it when, you know, because again, you might think, right, I'm going to play this tonight, and then both hunters use excellent weather and they're there. It's like, right, okay, well, but then you're going to go, right, well, fuck it, I'm going to leave and I'll throw down Summon Storms. So, yeah, I would say because most Dracs will have to go to sea at some point, it's very rare that I've seen games where it's just all land-based. I don't think is it a C? An S, sorry. I mean, is it up there with returns? I mean, I guess if you're in the final week and you trap guys that can't get to you and you've got a nice, easy 3 move, fuck it, yeah. All right, let's put someone. I'll put in an S, and then I'll hear your moral dilemma, and then I'll just reverse my decision. Go on then. What was the?
So the moral dilemma is, if you could pick between a guaranteed Summon Storms or a Manuel, which one would you pick?
Oh fuck! Now you're just being a dick because this happened, and yeah, I did. That's just nasty fucking play there. I've not even mentioned Dublin, but you know, fuck you. Yeah, for those listening, this happened. I picked a manual and I got all excited with myself, and I should have picked Summon Storms, and I didn't. I just picked something, and your good host here beat me.
I mean, also then, what did you get from a manual? Like fucking nothing.
Was it Enraged? I think it was Enraged, wasn't it? And then I played it and fucked it up. So yeah, it was the worst use of that card.
Oh my god.
If I could play a manual and be guaranteed one of them was Summon Storms, then we'll go for that.
Because that's the thing. There's 2 of them in the deck. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think the allure of like. I mean, there's another card coming up soon that we haven't talked about yet, which is also very powerful. But like, if I saw a guaranteed Dark Returns, I'm like, or a manual. But when I got that Hope's Mature and I had a lot of cards to pick from, I had a very short amount of time to make that decision. I saw Dracula's Brides and I went for it. I missed the trick. I should have gone for this. I think Summon Storms is just more reliable. I think. In order to get it's all contextual, but I think you could slow down the hunters potentially more than one day. That's the way to think about it. Darkness Returns could be you're gaining 3 points, but because obviously the way the day is skipped. But with this, you could slow down the hunters more than a day. Even though you're not getting the points, you're slowing them down more, and that could be the difference. Or you could do it where you put something up in Cagliari, and the hunters think, oh, that's fine. I've got plenty of time to go and deal with that, and then suddenly 1 or 2 days before it matures, you put up Summon Storms. You're like, oh shit, now there's a rumor token there, and I can't even fucking go there. So there's lots of ways you can make it work for you, I think.
There is. I mean, I'm just thinking there to contradict myself. The only thing I would think is, if you, say for example, hunters are chasing you and you trap them in the UK, then obviously there's nothing for them to do but supply, and the risk is they can draw some good fucking cards. Whereas if they're on your tail and they're at sea, they can't do any trading.
Yeah.
So you're almost forcing them to just, oh well, we'll supply. Oh look what I got, consecrated ground. You need vigor. That's the only. I think if you, I mean, even if you're looking at, for example, say you jump from Adriatic to Valona, and you've got Summon Storms, and they're down in Barry, then you can block it there. Yeah, Cagliari is obviously the best one to be sitting at. You've got Cagliari, unless of course they put CG and then you've got to move, but they can block anyone from Spain, from Italy, from Baltica, wherever it might be, and the UK. Those are the 2 locations. If you're planning to go there and you've got Summon Storms, try and work your strategy so that you can benefit from this. So, well, I'm putting Summon Storms at S tier. So to me, Darkness Returns and and Summon Storms, they both could win you the game. Put it that way.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a tricky one. It's really weird how we got.
Maybe
like,
not S.
a
I
lot
might do
of-
A actually. I might do A.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Again, it's all
I'm just
contextual. It
thinking
all
what's
depends
coming
on
up.
when you get it, but I think 'cause
Yeah.
you're more likely to see this, right? Because there's two of them. There's only one of Darkness Returns on the manual, but it's a tricky one.
I think I'll do an A. And again, it's probably down to the fact that it cannot be, and it's one of the few, it cannot be removed by hunters.
Yeah, which I think it's just it's definitely at least A. There's like no doubt. I think that's the weird thing. Like, I'd say I think it's probably a lot better than Devilish Power. It's like maybe A, but it's on the brink of X. Brink of X? What the fuck does that mean? On the brink of S tier. It's got to be close to it, surely.
Yeah.
If I had to choose between this and Devilish Power, I'd probably pick this, unless I was really scared of Consecrated Ground, depending on how I was playing. But you can maybe work around it. But anyway, so I think we've got one more card left, and somehow we've managed to make a video about only 17 cards, almost as long as the Hunter tier list video. So well fucking done. That was a good effort from both of us. On this, there's two more. Sorry, yeah. Unearthly Swiftness.
Three more. Three more.
Is it three more? Fucking hell. Right, okay. Perfect. That. Right, Unearthly Swiftness. It's basically like another Darkness Returns. You don't cycle the deck with the discards, but then the benefit would be that there's no night action for the hunters because you just skip everything. It doesn't skip the time. It's kind of like this weird thing. Like, it doesn't advance the game time. It just
gives you a free turn.
It just gives you a free turn. If you use it in the final week, then you basically gain 6 points for 1 day's worth of moving. Basically, is the way to think about it. Or you can use it to force a vampire to mature, or anything to mature for that matter. But yeah, plus it could be a vampire if it was 7 points.
And the good thing is, if you've got wolf form ready to move, then you can, if you're in a difficult situation, you can get 3 away from the hunters. So.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's got to be more or less equivalent to Darkness Returns.
You put it an S, are you?
I mean, if we're putting Darkness Returns as S, surely this is S as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. Yeah, because there's not much more to say. It's a good card to get. If you get that, you're like, again, it's just about when to play it, So yeah, it's a good card to get.
Yeah, don't rush this. It's so easy to think, oh, I'll just play it now. It's like, no.
Oh god,
Hold it. Either hold it to get out of a really awkward situation, or because you want to force something really important to mature, or use it 4th week. That's like the 3 conditions here. Don't use it willy-nilly, because it's like the most powerful card. I remember I played a game against you really early on, and I used it kind of like willy-nilly, because I was like, oh, look at this cool thing I have, let's use it. And then I remember later on in the game, I was like, oh shit, if I had Unearthly Swiftness, I could get out of this situation, now I fucking can't. And I think you then said a comment to me saying, if you'd held on to that card, you would have got out of that situation, and then,
Yeah.
Right, Vampiric Influence. Interesting card. I like this card quite a lot, but I'm interested to hear your views on it.
Yeah, I fucking love it. I mean, it can only... Well, here's the thing. Going back to what we spoke about with Seduction, if you've got 3 hunters that have got a bite or 2 hunters with a bite, then you can pick and choose.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
you could look at all of a sudden, okay, Sue's got a bite, let's see what he's got. And then you also get to remove one of the cards, and then you get to move them. So, I mean, normally other hunters don't have don't get bitten per se. So Mina's going to be the one you go to, and you can already see two of the cards she's got. So you're kind of like hoping that she's holding on to something else. But there was a game I played with Mr. Green a while back, and I was vamping this pulled up, and I was in the UK. Vampiric Influence. Oh right, Mina, because she was the only one with it, popped up. She held on to Consecrated Ground. So it's like. Now again, that's nothing to do with anything other than that was just a fortuitous circumstance. Yeah. Mr. Green was obviously fucking raging. You delete Consecrated Ground, and I'm then, because he wasn't going near the UK because he was just going to wait to block me. Yeah. And he'd just drawn it the previous night, so he was ready to use it that night. I got Vampiric Influence, and it was a case of, right, get rid of it. So I think it's very good. Again, if it's, the fact is there's 2 of them, which, again, if hunters were supplying, at night you'd have that that chance to get. But yeah, I like it. Again, it's like the other one we spoke about. It's like it's like a 3-hitter. You've got your they've got to reveal all their item cards and events anyway. So the fact is, you're getting to see their hand right now,
Yep.
much like you're behind the veil kind of thing, if you like, or a spy card getting played or whatever. But you get to see what they've got, you get to remove one of them, and then you get to move them to an adjacent city. And they're not delayed, but you can move them to adjacent city. And again, depending how you've played this, that could be a layer.
And if it's something with
And
like, some sort of like damaging a thing, or it could be like bats, so then they get triggered by that, and then they got to push back even further, and they're delayed. There's little things you can do. Again, it all depends on the timing of it. I think
that's it. Yeah, I mean, you might look at it and say, right, Mina's not got anything really worth getting rid of. She's got one knife. Well, I'll get rid of that. And she's got fast horses and a stake. You move her to a layer with bodyguards, and now she's taken 5 health and she's delayed. Okay, that's handy. I like it. Obviously, it's a play immediately. So it's going to have to be Mina, and the problem is if she's fucking sitting with one card, you're like, okay. But if it was a vampiric influence, which I kind of think it should, because there's almost a bit of sort of meta regarding the book aspect, that if it's vampiric influence, it could almost be that they get another bite, or you can. What'd be great is if you could control that player for a round or something, and all of a sudden you can then decide as Mina, right, okay, what I'm going to do is throw these away, or I'm going to attack a hunter, or just something for that period, because that would be the vampiric influence. They're under your spell, they're under your influence. You can make them do something.
Yeah, and you can make them do crazy things like move in the wrong direction. They can light supply. You might get another card out of it, or goodness what else, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You could say that, okay, chartered carriage, right? Chartered carriage 4 stops away from me, or whatever it might. Whatever it might be, or nearer, that would be a nice little. But again, this is what it says in the board game saying. But when I read this, I always thought that was missing a trick. That it should be. I mean, it states vampiric influence, so therefore, you've already got that connection with the victim. You're basically going to, okay, this is what I want you to do.
I mean, maybe then that might be too strong. But then if you make it just like instead of being 2 of them in the deck, there's only 1 of them, and you duplicate something else, then great, fuck it, go for it. I think the other thing with the fact it's only normally, under normal circumstances, only going to be Mina. Good hunter players will then try and get really critical events off her, but then again, if you draw it the day before, like you can't really do much about that. But then the counter argument would be like, well, the way and again, full disclosure, this is like it's on YouTube. I normally play with Mina with having fast horses, because there are reasons why I don't want Van Helsing to have it. But then, you can then take vampiric influence to snipe the fast horse. I'm like, oh shit, I've got 1 less fast horse, and then that could be, again, critical, depending on the situation, right? Or if you know that Mina wants to come in for a fight, and you get rid of her only weapon, or the heavenly host, and right now, if there is a CG, it's not so effective or whatever, then the hunter's like, oh crap, now what? How do we work around this now? It's again, you're forcing hunters to make awkward decisions potentially, and that's kind of that's all you want.
I liked it. I mean, I did. I like it. In fact, the game tonight I played, this came up. My opponent was Night Supply, and I got vampiric influence. Mina had, funnily enough, she had 2 blood transfusions. Fucking was why he'd held on to them. But she had a knife, fast horses. So I removed she was in Munich. Removed fast horses, moved up to Nuremberg, and all of a sudden she's out. She's out of the game trying to get near me. So it was just, it's. What we're saying to this then? An A, an S, an A. I mean, again, it's only going to. You're always going to hit a hunter. Yeah, you're always going to hit Mina. That's one good thing about it.
Yeah,
it's not like your others where you're waiting for them to search or whatever. It's yeah.
Because there's still some like a little bit of like, because again she could have crap stuff, so then or nothing that's like really consequential. It also depends. It's play immediately, so you can't hold on to it and wait for it at the right time. But I'd say A. I remember when Warcraft used against me first, and then when I saw it pop up on the screen, I was like, oh thank god it wasn't like Overtly Swiftness or something, or Manuel. But then as soon as I saw that he took my fast balls away from me, and I was like, oh shit, I spent all this time trying to get them, and now I've got to fucking work to get them back again. I mean, in that case we got really unlucky, because when the item deck reshuffled literally like a turn later, the fast horses got pushed right to the top. But on another game, they'll be stuck at the bottom, and you're not going to fucking get them again. So yeah, that could be then gone forever. I agree. I think A. When I look at all the things that are in BE, I think it's better than those stuff. So. And the last one, wild horses. Again, this is where there's a little bit of discussion in the community. It says play it after the hunter moves by road. Now, is that move action or any sort of move? So would it be, would this trigger on a sense of emergency or fast horses? Well, those are special actions. I don't know. Basically, what it does, you choose where the hunter moves.
Yeah. The good thing is, it doesn't. What I like about it is, if they land on one of the card's not revealed, they get moved first. So
yes,
it's not like they can see what's on the card, be it a lair or a hideout on the trail.
Yep.
So you're delaying them. Oh, sorry, no, I beg your pardon. You're not delaying them, but you're moving them back one. But then they don't know. It'd be different if they landed on it and it was revealed, and you moved them back. They still have to come back and check what it is. So, I mean, and B, or it's nothing.
yeah,
It's nothing. Again, you're relying on it. I mean, listen, how many times did especially with the current meta game, how many times the hunters move by road by foot? Very little. It's fucking fast horse. 3 to 4 in fast horses, or it's going to be rail.
Unless it's a renewed vigor where they're doing fast horses and then a normal move. But then even then, you're going to stop one hunter coming on you, where if the other 3 are fucking piling in, then what's the fucking point? And also the other problem with this is, because again, board game edition, you're not going to have this issue, but because you're going to get the prompt every single time that someone moves by road, you're going to get the prompt, and the hunter will know, oh, you have wild horses, okay, I'm never going to fucking move by road ever again then. And then you're just like, well, then what's the point of it? I must admit, I had a bit of fun with Quincy in my league game. I don't know why, but maybe he didn't realise that I had wild horses, or he forgot, and he started moving by road all the time. I'm just like, maybe he's doing it to try and bait it out of me. I actually used it to try and like fuck around with him, and it did kind of work. But if the hunters know that they have wild horses, then you kind of be like, okay, either I'm just going to move by road, so then it baits you to use it, or I'm just never going to move by road ever again. And the thing is, on fast horses, that's the thing. So I don't know if it should or not play after hunter moves by road. But then
moves by road.
But then what happens if it's a sense of emergency? Because on that basis, it should be triggered on sense of emergency as well. Then.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, I think there's a lot of grey about these special cards, and that don't seem to cover, that aren't covered by these events. As you say, moving by road, it doesn't say minimum road, maximum road, or how they're moving. It just says by road. So yeah, sense of emergency should really trigger. It might. I don't know. I can't remember having wild horses on it. So
I was going to ask, like, how when you played like the physical version, how have your group implemented this card?
To be honest with you, I think it's one of those I can't even remember really it coming up. It's one of those you don't really. I couldn't even honestly tell you how it would be done if we'd done it tabletop. I mean, if I was playing it tabletop, we'd probably say, right, okay, what we're doing is, if you sense emergency by road, fine, you can do that, but then I'm going to use wild horses because you've moved by road. To me, unless you move by rail, you can. That's a good thing about the board games. I mean, there's some of the rules that we sort of, tweak, not completely get rid of, but this, for example, would be, right, okay, yeah, let's just make it like before we start the game. If you get wild horses, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
And likewise, fast horses. If you use fast horses or whatever it might be. So.
Yeah. And like in the digital edition, where just whatever the digital edition says, that's how it goes.
You're just stuck with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact is, again, it doesn't delay them. They just move to an adjacent city. So really, if they're about to land on you, they're only going to be 2 away. And if they have got fast horses, they'll be on you in the next one. It's.
But that could be the difference, depending on exactly if you can hold it long enough for the right.
Well, as you say, if all these are coming into the final week and you've got fucking 10 HP sitting there, then 10 influence points, then any of these would you'd try and make any of these work, wouldn't you?
Sure, of course, yeah. So I think a good thing with this, at least you can control when it's played, so you can kind of wait for that optimal moment. But yeah, especially if they play like a renewed vigor, and then you sense of emergency them, and then you move them away, they're like, oh fuck, I'm going to move into you then now. You can't stop it. So yeah, it's.
I guess the good thing is it works both ways, because likewise for Drac players, before a hunter starts and it comes up, waiting for, you kind of count them and go, right, okay, so they've either got renewed vigor, so it's kind of letting the hunters see the same thing. They've got something, whether it's wild horses or false tip or whatever it might be.
And obviously, because the Dracula events are so rare, then it's the Dracula player in general is getting more information. At least the only problem is with the Hunter event, because it could be Speedy Telegram, or Renewed Vigor, or Long Night, or Newspaper, or Special Return. You're not quite sure which one it is. I'm just very pessimistic. I operate under the assumption it's Renewed Vigor every time until I'm proven otherwise. I'm proven
I
wrong.
agree. Yes.
Whereas with this,
you got it. Yeah.
if the Hunter moves by road and you see the prompt, you're like, oh, I wonder what the fuck card that is that Dracula's got. Oh, I fucking wonder. Let's get the list out and try and tick them all off. No, it's fucking Wild Horses. Same with False Tip. Every time you move by rail, oh, I wonder what card he has. Oh, it's False Tip. Okay, cool. Which obviously, that's a disadvantage of the digital edition. Whereas obviously playing it in real life, then you haven't got that. But then just
You don't. You can still
playing
keep
real
that.
life has other disadvantages, but.
Well, yeah, playing in real life, most people forget the cards they have and then fucking forget about it.
Well, that'd be an issue, yeah, absolutely. Especially if
It goes to it goes to dusk and they go, oh, can I use my card? No. Oh shit, I've missed it again. Oh, so yeah, the one thing about this is, especially with newbies, when it comes to the game, it's great for them to kind of remind them here. But then the problem is that they click on it, and it's a misclick. Oh, what's this click? Oh shit, I've just used Renewed Vigor.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, it's especially if it's a 1v1 where people haven't, this is their first sort of furor into the game. Playing as hunters can be daunting with 4 players and multiple cards and who have I got and blah. So yeah, I could see the benefit of it being on there. If there was an option in the house rules to take off prompts, that would be fucking great.
Yeah.
Because then you could kind of go, right, okay, well, like, if you and I were playing a game, we just go, right, fuck it, remove prompts. And all of a sudden it makes it, again, it's more so, it'd be more beneficial for the hunters because, again, Drac rarely gets a card. But if you took that off, then that would be a whole new level of strategy needed.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You could do it that you could just the prompt would come up for the hunter player, but you would hide it from the Draco player's perspective, so it just looks like the hunter's doing their turn as normal and they're waiting for Gadaming to move. You can probably tell they're taking a long time, like, oh, maybe they've got something they're thinking about, but maybe not. It could be a bluff or whatever.
Yeah, I think it'd be useful that, but
So the basic summary we have is S tier, definitely Dark Returns, Unearthly Swiftness, and Emmanuel Hildesheen. Summon Storms maybe there, kind of in between S and A. A tier, Devilish Power, Vampiric Influence. B tier, I put fucking abbreviations now. CS, what the fuck CS stands for. Dracula's Brides.
Custom Search is CS.
Hidden Schemes. Oh yeah, Custom Search, Hidden Schemes, Dracula's Brides, Wild Horses, and then maybe in between B and C tier we got stuff like maybe Seduction, Enraged, Roadblock, something like that. C tier, definite C tier, False Tip, Great Wolf, and Nocturnal Visit, and then D tier, Sensations Press.
I think it's probably laid out that way. I mean, like we said, this is only 25 cards you get for them. There's multiples in them as well. That you're only really wanting to get top tier. The rest are all, as you said, you try and make them. I mean, they are all workable, but you're only going to be trying to get the top 4 or 5 that can actually benefit you. But again, they probably think that most times hunters won't be supplying. Hunters don't want to give Dracula any more, power or ammunition or whatever it might be. So they might just be thinking, well, okay, if you do get one, what might be better is you kind of put a few other stronger cards in there. Take out fucking 3 roadblocks and bring in something else so that you've got a better chance of actually getting. I know debate will be that makes Drac too OP, blah blah, but not really. I don't agree with you've got 4 against 1 to begin with. How can Drac be OP? But it just means that if he's never going to get a card, you're not going to get one that's going to fucking wipe the game and all of a sudden you move. And I think Quincy had said before in one of the older editions there was like a wolf form you could just move anywhere on the map. Now that's just crazy.
That's just that seems pretty ridiculous.
That's just, why would you do that? But if you're going to struggle to get a card, then when you do, make it worthwhile. Instead of just, there you go, you can have this, good luck. Right,
absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's important to, like, in the game, all cards are not created equally. Like, same with the hunters, right? The whole point is, like, the hunter player, like, right, I've got all these cards, I've got a mixture of good and bad ones, and do I risk supplying to try and get something even better, or do I just keep it with what I've got? And it's kind of like, say with Dracula, you don't know what you're going to get, and it's kind of that nice thing, like, you might get like a medium tier thing, and then suddenly, once in that blue moon, you get something really powerful. You get a Hoax Mature, and you see the array of cards that you've been given, and then you start trying to decide, right, what do I want to take here, depending on the situation of the game. You want that. You don't want every card to be OP or like really, really, really game breaking, because then you're just like, oh well, that's not how it should be. You should have a mix of cards, and then you're forced to make these difficult decisions. Like, do I play this now? Do I burn it and try and get something better? But then, once if I don't get something better, then it's.
I mean, yeah, it's decision making. It's like exactly, yeah. It's like what you're saying. It's like, okay, well, you've got to get rid of one. You've got to work out what's going to be beneficial to you, and that's another element of the game that players are consciously learning, or you're always thinking about. It's you can only. And again, to me, that was almost like a kind of downside to this whole meta about hunters just supplying for the first week, because then, say if you're a fortuitous hunter and you've drawn great fucking cards, you can't hold on to them. So what do? You start burning good cards, because if you're sitting there and all your guys are tooled up by, say you haven't pulled newspaper, it's day, it's day 6 of the first week, and all your guys have got everything they need, then you stop supplying, and then start moving, which obviously would benefit Dracula, or do you then have to start saying, right, well, oh Christ, I've got 2 renewed vigors and a chartered carriage. What do I do? So, Van Helsing can only hold 3 at a time. But again, the problem is it doesn't happen, because you normally pull blood transfusion, right? Burn that. Good luck. Burn that. And again, Drac. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame it's not a bit more kind of right. Oh fuck it. Like I say, I mean, I'm talking about this, but just in the last 2 games this week, as I've played as Drac and I've had hunter cards drawn, which have actually won me the game. So it works, but you're relying on the hunters kind of getting to a stage where they're desperate that, okay, well, I need to catch you. I need to just start doing night supplies. And
I think then, this is something I've been saying to other players, I feel like then as the Dracula player, there's like a really underappreciated like skill ceiling to Dracula, in which you actively do things in such a way that because it also a lot depends on what the hunters do and what items they have, but as soon as you start making you're forcing the hunters to make difficult decisions, that's when slips will happen. They make mistakes, they get sloppy, hoaxes mature, or they get desperate because they need that really big event, and then you get a Dracula card. And then it becomes like this snowball effect, because depending on what Dracula event you got, then it could just keep going and going. And I think that's a real underappreciated thing of this game. As Dracula, you want to keep forcing the hunters to make really difficult decisions, and then same as hunters, then you're trying to minimize that. You want your turns to be as simple as possible. I had a game against you in the league where a slightly different situation, but still, as a hunter player, I was sitting there with Van Helsing in Marseille. I wanted to supply and get a ticket and trade and heal all at once. I'm like, well, I can't fucking do everything. And as soon as that happens, that's when the game then, especially in a 1v1 situation, when you're playing in a group, especially around the table, is a different vibe. Unless you're all really tryharding. But in this situation, we're playing 1v1, it all again comes down to that sort of thing. How can you mess with your opponent without doing it orally? It's more or less about just placing your encounters in such a way that it causes a real headache for either Dracula or for the hunters, whichever way you're thinking about it. So
absolutely. And I think that's it again, because Drac knows that players, you expect you're not going to get any vamp cards unless the hoax matures. Then usually you'll play your hoax in the first week, because then you've got a chance of getting it to mature. But then if there's minimal cards there, so you're playing your game with effectively just your power cards. That's really what your item cards and your power cards are the ones that are gonna, that's your baseline, if you like. And then it comes down to, as you say, it's about playing layers with a future use for them, rather than just, I'll throw this down to get rid of a shit card. Try and use it where you can actually, okay, well, if I'm going to do this and come back to them, that'll be useful, because I can do that. I did that tonight. I came back to Marseille, landed on it, had a fog on it, put a vampire on it, blocked the player, because I knew I was going to go back to it at some point. So, because you've got to work, as you say, you're up against it really from the start. So you've got to make sure that you've got I know it's all about reactive, because you can't really plan your Drac game ahead, because you don't know what the hunter's going to do. But once the hunters have found you, you've got to have a couple of contingency plans in place.
Yes.
Don't
that's where,
get yourself stuck in a corner,
Yeah, that's where the Dracula cards then come in, because then you can start thinking ahead. Like the game I had where I saw the Summon Storms, I should have taken it, because then suddenly if I just taken a few more seconds and fought a few turns ahead. What's a likely situation here? I'm in the east. I'm going to have to go to sea. Do I need to block off the hunters at some point? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do this rather than wasting Dracula's Bride. But yeah, I completely agree. Dracula is a lot more reactive. But then I think that's where, like, if you can, I feel like, I know it sounds a bit weird now because I like playing the hunters, but I think there's more satisfaction if you get a good Dracula win, and you've really you've really fucked the hunters around, and they've, like, even if the hunters have played a really good game, they've just never been able to quite catch you, and you've been able to cause a lot of difficulties for them. There's something really thrilling about it. It's really weird. I'm really warming to like Dracula play now, especially with the league. I've been forced to play Dracula.
Yeah. See,
it's very good.
There's a lot. There is, and you're right. It's like when you most times the stress. You've said this in videos in the past where, when you're playing as hunters, you're kind of, you think the clock's going so fast, you're not going to catch Drac. When you're Drac, you're like, fuck, it's only week 1. I've got to try and stay away. It's just all relative to the side that you're playing. But yeah, you do. When you win as Drac, it's a case of, unless you've had a very, all the hunters have had a very unlucky or poor game, you're going to be round about maybe, at 5 health, maybe something. It might come down to one last battle or whatever it might be. And you're right. I always enjoy a victory as Dracula because you're like, right, and in my mind, in my old twisted dark mind, it's a case of, unlike the book, it's like he's escaped to carry on and he's still out there somewhere,
and they have to regroup and carry on, kind of thing.
As opposed to a finality off that. And again with hunters, it's funny. I know you've always said about, like, I'm more a Drac player than a hunter. It's always just been, I'd played sort of half and half, but certainly the tournament, I mean, it's shown now. I think that out of the first few games I had, majority of them were hunters, and I think bar you and Warecraft as Drac. Now I've got a nice run of Drac games coming, so I'm hoping to get that's 2 wins this week out of Drac. So I feel more comfortable with him than the hunters. I just, again, without pointing finger, the cards just don't fall for me. Let's just say that. So, but again, as Drac, you don't need them to, because you're not relying on the cards to win the game. You're just relying on yourself and the strategy, which I like.
I think I was talking to Pizza Wizard about this, and like the way I describe it is like, okay, obviously this might not happen because a lot depends on how things happen. But I feel like the hunters always have a chance of winning, whereas all it needs is Dracula could play flawlessly for 2.5 weeks, and then they just make one error and they lose. And I feel like it's more, now I've kind of realized it's more taxing to actually play at a really high. If you're playing a friendly game, fuck it, okay, who cares? But in the league, I feel like it's more taxing as Dracula. Like, every single turn, I have to be thinking really critically about what I'm doing here. Because if I just take one error, because I know that this hunter player I'm against, they'll know how to use Renewed Vigor correctly, they'll know how to combine it with fast horses, sense of emergency, whatever. And then that can be dead in one turn. That's what happened. The one game I've lost against Pirate Joe, I just switched off for 1 second, and I didn't actually switch, I overthought the situation. I should have just played the safe fucking move. But I was going, oh no, but that move's too obvious. And then they get on to me, no, I should have just played the most obvious move. and I would have survived. And I'm not saying I would have won, because obviously then I would have had to kept moving, but I wouldn't have ended up in the fight that I did and taken so much damage. And I lost the game just purely based on that one move.
That's the thing about this game, mate. Honestly, it's just. It never, you can play a lot and lose a lot, and you kind of get down on it and you go, fuck, it's like playing golf. Do you know what I mean? You have a great game and you fucking love it. You have a bad game and you're like, oh, this game's fuck, I'm never playing this again. But you come back to it. It's a vampiric influence. You come back to it because, every opponent you play is different. Everyone thinks differently to everybody else. Yes, you could follow some meta and follow, but invariably, Pizza was right with saying that. He's like, this is what I always do, and I shouldn't do it this way, but I do. And he goes, I need to change that. So he knows there's a weakness in his game that he needs to change. But I don't. You're kind of just playing to how they are. And even with people that we know, you and me play, our games can vary where you destroy me one game, I destroy you the next game, and the third one's almost a tie kind of thing, because it just depends on your frame of mind that day or how you feel about playing. So you know, there's no structure to it, right? If I do this, I'll win. It's great that it just becomes, you know, somebody's fuck it, you know what, I'm going to search at night, fuck it, I need this card. You never know, I might get something, and all of a sudden it opens it up. So yeah, so much to this, and I think the you know, future tournaments, I think, which have to be done by public demand. I think, you know, there'll be more and more looking at doing that as well. So, but yeah, anyway, fucking yeah, I thought we were talking about before we came on here about doing this fucking within an hour. How the fuck did it?
Yeah, so well done. We've managed to talk about 25. Well, it's not even 25.
No.
Unique, but yeah, so 17 unique events in the same time that took us to do tier lists for the entire Hunter players. So fucking well done. Thanks for that. I mean, at least, you know, people can comment on YouTube about why this is so fucking long. But never mind. Thank you for joining me. This has been good fun, and we'll do the same for the items and encounters. So that'll be another like 10 hours of content for the channel.
Fuck me. Yeah, it's gonna be like a fucking Lord of the Rings trilogy by the end of it.
I know. I mean, even longer than that.
And then director's cut.
Yeah.
It'll be like our outtakes and fucking, oh Jesus. Right, well listen, I'll let you go just now, mate. I'll let you do your outro. I'll maybe catch you the weekend in the games, but I'll be in touch over the next couple of days anyway, okay?
Sounds good. Take care. Thank you, Rossco.
Thanks for the invite. Take care.
No problem. Take care.
Cheers.
Alrighty, everybody. Well, yeah, that was it. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and hopefully, if you're new to the either the board game or the digital version, that going through these Dracula cards has been useful, and you've been able to see what they all do and our thoughts on them. And as you said, yeah, if you're playing with us in the Discord community, just to let you know, there's a link for the Discord community in the description, and it's like a link that should never expire. So even if you're watching this a year into the future, click on the link; it'll probably work. Yeah, you can check it out. And yeah, keep looking on the channel. Rossco and I are very keen, because we're not playing a lot of games during the week at the moment, just because the League of Dracula's on. We've been on our games at the weekend, so yeah, I can use up weekday evenings to talk about items and encounters. But given it's now 1:30, I need to go to bed. So maybe we shouldn't talk so much, but that's what happens with this game. So anyway, take care, everybody. Thank you for watching. Anything you disagree with or agree with, I'm really keen to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And see you in the next video very soon. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.